That's post haste. See ya.
Adara, thank you very much. Sharif, we do have, it is Fed minutes coming out here, so just a couple of things already hitting the wire. Fed want further inflation progress before adjusting rates, can hold policy at restrictive level if economy is strong, and I need to, now that I have the stream up, I need to mute it so that I don't listen to the ad that is currently playing, because I'll listen to music. So a couple of notes there from the Fed. 2 participants believe the risks to achieving inflation mandate outweigh risks to employment mandate. All participants agreed to hold rates steady at the prior meeting, which I guess we all knew already. So we're just getting a few things trickling in here. I don't think, look, we're not expecting anything outside of the pocket here. When it comes to the Fed. So obviously the fact that it was unanimous, the last one, I think is going to make a heck of a lot of sense. It has been the SMCI,
oh boy.
What are we even calling this? Relief rally of the ages. A lot of people saying, why is SMCI going? It doesn't matter why SMCI is going. No, I think it was one of those reversals where it was a hefty short. Definitely was a short this morning, and then it just liquidity grabbed and then ran to the upside to the point that you were just talking about an argument between some traders.
Yeah, you're just having a conversation
about where the best long would have been.
Yeah, I'm just having a conversation with Wayne and Yanni about potential probabilities of the price action, where things became higher probability, what kind of action. We were all looking for the short off of the open, but the fact that I think the trade was a little bit crowded, and a lot of eyes definitely looking at it, but I don't know. At the end of the day, we hold prior day high really well. We start to consolidate on top of VWAP, and then we break the downtrend off of the opening range highs as well, off the lower high, off the 60. So like in and around that VWAP hold, maybe again we're talking about like maybe no one's getting along on that prior day hold. Maybe someone is. Maybe someone's looking for that crowded trade. Maybe someone's looking for that push back up and a lot of anticipatory shorts to get blasted out. Maybe some people are looking at a higher time frame. We saw what it's doing on the daily.
On the weekly.
On the weekly. Look at what it's doing on the weekly right here.
Forget the daily. Look at the weekly chart of SMCI.
We're breaking out of multiple kind of things. So it's like, all right, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
boom. That's 70. Like I'm glossing over 68 and just kind of eyeballing 75 in there. I mean, if we're holding above 64, it's ridiculous. Excuse me, as I choke. SMCI going absolutely. No, just keep in mind, you got a few things. Rightfully pointed out, 2 NY. Is it 2 New York cent? Yes, it is. Right there in the chat. This run on SMCI might have to do with the event tomorrow with Nvidia. I think part of it also has to do with just go back to the moment they reiterated that they expect to meet the deadline to file. And even though their preliminary numbers were not good, it didn't matter. They said they were going to file on time, and then it's been running ever since. Now, there was a reversal. No questions asked. I liked the short today. It was a good short. It was a clean station to station. But the reversal long, I feel like it happens almost every single time, sometime between 11 and 12. There's missed opportunities. You're on the show in the morning, you get up, you go to the bathroom, you go to eat lunch, you do whatever, you're talking to somebody. It's that time of day where sometimes the best trades do get missed. And that consolidation break and then the breakout of 61.5. I mean, what can you say? It was at VWAP. The argument about where the best long was on SMCI, I kind of feel like is the wrong argument because the answer should have been just about any of them once it held VWAP is the right answer. But it looks like it could be reverting a little bit. Now, the other thing I'm eyeballing is we haven't had too much out of the Fed yet. Like I haven't even heard anything in my ear, but I see a few things on Twitter. Tesla broke trend from the day and now losing VWAP right quick. I was so close to pulling the trigger, but then the only reason I didn't was because of the Fed minutes. I didn't want to punch in before we had the minutes. But now it looks like it should have been an easy short. You're in Intel.
Yeah, no.
Back in Intel, I should say.
Yeah, back in Intel. Took a couple trades. What else? I did trade the CVS. We had that intraday news. Kind of pointed it out on that there. a little bit of a pop that happened on CVS. Let's take a quick look at it again. On wow, it actually reverted, Neil. It reverted back to where it kind of came from. This was what I was looking at again during the midday. I saw this and I was like, oh boy, CVS News. The director buys about 30,000 shares worth at a price of a 66.70s. I was kind of watching it, saw the push up through that 67, and then it can't really continue. It fails, it stalls, it comes back in through 67. I'm like, all right, well, maybe we do a reversion, because looking back at it, this is a bit of an area where we've seen some supply back to back over the past few days. And if it's going to stall on a strong push up into that level, I like the reversion. And it happened to come all the way back down to 30s. I think I covered most of my position in the 50s, in the 60s and 70s as it just pushed in. But it was absolutely wild. I tried to hit the bid on 67. Insta wipe of the bid. I end up hitting 90s instead of the holes. I was like, oh boy, my risk suddenly went up by 10 pennies unintentionally. But I was like, all right, let this trade work. Maybe risk a little bit tighter. I ended up working out, but I did get out a little too early. I got out, like I said, in the 60s. It comes down all the way to 30s, giving you about 30 pennies more, with wicks down to 20s. So pretty much almost just coming back into VWAP after that news. No real effect after the fact. Just reverts and kind of goes back to doing what it was doing. And yeah, if a news catalyst, again, you see some of the news catalysts in this market. Some of them are moving things very aggressively, and we're getting that continuation. But if something fails to follow through right away after getting that news, and that volume stalls, the tape stalls, and it's coming back in, yeah, I mean, hey, I got a little lucky with that reversion. Happened to work out.
Yeah, but that's, you know what? Those types of trades, it's like it's just playbook. Speaking of playbook, before we go up to and we're going to go up to Sharif in just a quick little second here. Nvidia, from the time of the high of the day here on Nvidia, it did pull back. Let's see if I get filled at 50s. I'm not sure I'm going to get the fill, but anyways, pull back. Lower highs the whole way through. It just broke the trend and closed it out above. So it looks like I'm not going to get the fill at 50, which means I will try to nibble above 60 for a little bit less and then see if we get to 50s after, as I don't want to chase this too far. But it's just like a trend reversion trade for me. That's what I'm hunting on Nvidia. Trend reversion back into the highs as it's up 1% and looking relatively strong. You can't say incredibly strong when SMCI is doing what it's doing. Nvidia looks relatively strong is the best way to think about it. So nothing crazy out of the FOMC minutes. We didn't really get any move on the odds, Fed fund rate odds. I believe Sharif is ready. He and Randy were just having a solid discussion there. I'm going to guess about EVs because it's always about EVs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Of course it is.
Welcome to the afternoon show, guys. Our afternoon rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. Obi in for Sean today, but the boys are locked and loaded and they're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. But the only way to get your tickers up there is to join us on the How to Trade show during the midday and get into that chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. But only the top few make it on, and you got to be a subscriber to get involved in the chat. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing. Here's a look at the triple Qs. The NQ and the ES marginally green at the moment. We got 0.04 for the NQ, 0.06 for the ES. The Dow and the Russell, though, decidedly negative, with the Dow being down 1/3%. The Russell 2000 in the small cap world getting hit a bit today, down a little bit over 0.5%. There's a look at Nvidia. It's positive on the day, 0.75% in the green, despite this news headline this morning that Trump is looking to announce even more tariffs on chips, pharmaceuticals, and auto imports. We were worried that would have a negative effect on Nvidia. In fact, guys, it went red to green, but it's green right now, up 0.75.
Not last. Okay. But my trend line's gone. You guys get the idea. No, it's a similar looking chart to what we saw in, nothing is directly similar to SMCI, but in the sense that it was a V-shaped recovery off the bottom to a consolidation to a breakout. It then trended down, lower highs, lower lows, and then I took the break of that trend, which, just to give you an idea of the execution, there you go. There's a close above, the break of the prior high. If we lose this level here, just underneath the third, we'll risk about 30 pennies on this, looking for a push back into 141 and then the high of the day. Don't actually even have any orders out yet. make sure we'll do that, get out in front of 141, just see where this can go. It's trending up. I think there has to be at least a little bit of concern. I know we didn't really talk too much about the futures there because Fed minutes didn't really do much of anything, but there is to be considered. You are, failing's the wrong word, but on the Nasdaq, you're casually rejecting the afternoon high from yesterday, and then the morning range on the Qs, and then several times we've rejected it, but it's still in an upward trend, so I think strong stocks can remain strong stocks for at least a little bit here. But yeah, just right now with the reversion trade, I stand by. I said this morning, like the VWAP short on Nvidia, SMCI is my best stock today, but the VWAP short, getting out of Nvidia was probably the best trade, just not taking that hit. You know, ultimately, you can take the shot at it. It was trending down. I like the continuation off VWAP oftentimes. That's a great setup when it continues to trend, but it's one that you've got to get out of Dodge. When Nvidia decides to go ham and you're short, there's no averaging in, there's no fighting it. There is just getting the heck out of its way when it wants to trend to the upside. We've all seen it do it before.
Yeah.
Still like it on the daily chart overall, but we'll see. It's just more of a trade into the highs.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I was talking to Jose in the back, and he said he sniped that long off of the 130, 137s area right there. Again, a little bit of a key level on my chart as well. It was a prior secondary all-time high, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the all-time highs of the past in and around here, and then we just bounced cleanly off of that there. So shout out to Jose for having that one. But yeah, nice little consolidation on top of VWAP for that continuation, but didn't really get too far. Again, yesterday was pretty strong off of the open, and we faded off all day. And coming in today, we saw some more of that fade coming in, but pretty much sideways on top of this pre-market range right now on Nvidia. So don't really know how strongly we have reacted to these potential tariffs, but Nvidia within range. Again, I think it's still kind of headed towards that 150 mark. We'll see what it has in store for us. Don't forget, next week is earnings.
Before we go back, oh no, SMCI is on the list. SMCI is breaking trend right now down. I might end up short this stock.
Oh boy.
Get it, Neil. All right, guys. TSLA up next, up 2%, well off the highs, though. Several headlines today. I'll focus the ones really talking about India. So Tesla's India launch, well, basically they're preparing Indian expansion or to expand into the Indian market. They're looking for showrooms. They're looking also to staff those showrooms with salespeople and administrative staff. But this analyst doesn't really care about the India expansion. In fact, he doesn't think it's going to move the needle for Tesla in terms of deliveries. How come? Because he says Tesla's cars are priced outside of the average Indian salary. He doesn't think that they're going to be able to sell too many of those there. It doesn't account, though, this article about the new, cheaper Model Q, Model 2, whatever you want to call it, that we're expecting, guys, in the second half of this year.
Yeah, I think ultimately this is a good thing. Expanding to India, you can say all you want about affordability and all that. That tends to work itself out in a market that big. Like, they make money making vehicles, which almost nobody is doing. So as a matter of fact, I just think it's a great opportunity for them. Like, everyone seems to understand that that's the next big market. So it's only completely logical. It'll probably take some time. So like anything else with Tesla, I find like you're going to be in that waiting mode. It's still overall bearish on the daily, but there was a distinct trend reversal. I'm kind of not happy with myself. I should have taken this trade regardless of Fed minutes. We know that it just hasn't been that big of a deal, and I don't know that it was enough to get away from a break of a day-long trend here on Tesla. I should have had this one even though it was at VWAP, but it doesn't really matter. I had one short that I wasn't feeling in the moment, so I scalped out of it. I explained it at the time. I think what I was trying to explain at the time was 363 was a breakout level on Tesla. So why was I shorting on the pullback into it? And it was that simple. Yeah, okay, it's been a bearish chart, but there's a consolidation. There's a little bit of a rounded bottom, consolidative top, once, twice, the 363 break, and it made no sense why I was essentially shorting back into what was the support level. Second I got out, it supported 63 and made a fresh high. That high is what I want to work off now. Like bang, 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 there's your trend reversal. As long as it doesn't break back above this 363, I actually still think it's a bit of a short opportunity if we can get in there, fail VWAP. But that's very particular here for Tesla. The only thing I'm in right now is Nvidia, and we'll talk about SMCI next, but going to be a little bit more patient for that setup on SMCI because of how strong it is. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I think right off the open, something to note is that aggressive strength again. So I guess the market taking that catalyst pretty well there. Strong bid right off of the open, and we talked about that 350 being a little bit of an over/under for myself, and yeah, over we definitely did right off of the open, but a little bit of a pullback here off of prior levels of resistance. Again, earlier on. Last week we saw that what is this 360s, high 360s acting as a bit of a resistance, maybe some supply, maybe some strong sellers there. We come right back up into that area on that drive, and yeah, it's kind of slowed down. We do break out of it by a couple points there. I think that high specifically is 363. We made a high of 367, so yeah, we do push past it a little bit there, but selling coming right back in for a reversion, not only to VWAP, but a little bit further for a 50% retracement of that strong push that we had right off of the open. But interestingly enough, now, Neil, we're consolidating. We got that VWAP orbit happening, and technically we've held that 350 2 days in a row. So again, poised for a little bit higher. I have no idea, but I'm going to continue watching this one. Again, catalyst driven as well, holding strong trend, and it held up pretty well yesterday as well, with the market kind of doing the quadrunk that it was.
Yes, it did.
So one to watch out.
SMCI rocketing up. I feel like JTAI has like all the wow with all the W's after it, and you can tell that our resident small cap trader decided to put that next to JTAI. I would submit to you, Sharif, that you could have maybe used a capital on the R at least for SMCI when it's up 16.5%. I'm just going to throw that out there. What? I'm just saying.
Guilty as charged, Neil. All right, guys, SMCI, beautiful look today. Double-digit winner, man. We're up almost 16.75% right now, trading near the highs. There's really no specific catalyst for this one today. It's continuing its momentum from last week. We're waiting, though, for that February 25th deadline. That is when the Nasdaq has given them to file their delayed earnings, guys. That's coming awfully close, February 25th.
SMCI with a stronger rocket to the upside than a Brett Favre missile into the end zone to win it. One of the famous ones he had was the Minnesota one. I think it was to Simeon Rice in the back of the end zone. Was unbelievable. And yes, Hall of Famer Brett Favre is going to join us tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. to discuss brain health and concussions. It's a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, I mean, Sean is going to make it back in. I know he will, being a big Packer fan, obviously, guys. So tune in tomorrow. Brett Favre himself. I am going to take this opportunity now to say this because I won't say it tomorrow because I'm nice like that. Brett Favre in his career was 1-3 in Buffalo. Hall of Famer Brett Favre, 1-3 in Buffalo. I have to. I'm a Bills fan. I got to say it. In his career, he was 5-3 overall against the Bills because he's good, and the Bills weren't always good during his career. But SMCI, a legitimate rocket ship. But before I get to that, I do have to update Nvidia because it looked like it was going. We got 80s, and then we pulled right back in. So I got this prior low in here is my out. We did nibble back some 50s. I know I chased it a bit in that 60 level. We did nibble back in, but it goes like one stage, and we're already starting to try to put in a higher low. So I want a break of 141 and a test of the high for the next out, but it's a relatively tight stop. Like I'm not holding this all the way back into 140 even, nor am I holding it into VWAP. It was a trend break, and for a trend break, just keep that in for reference so it makes sense to everybody why I got in. For a trend break, it's always, if it breaks that prior low, it's an out, and work on the next available trade. So with that said, SMCI, I'm going to draw some different trend lines here because I was almost going into a short on SMCI, but then I looked at this all day long trend. There's the wick bottom, there's the VWAP hold, and there is it still holding that trend. Even if you do it, I was going to do it from the breakout, and I'm like, oh, it already broke that trend. How about it just breaks the day long trend? get a little more confirmation on this before actually considering going short. It was a good short this morning. It was basically just, it was like a gapper multiple days in a row, and then you had the fail of the high pre-market, the lower high, the battle at 60, all that, and none of that matters anymore because it's a rocket ship. At this point now, it's just squeezing, and it's got a ton of room to the upside, so I want to be very sure that I'm getting a good entry point and a trend break for a reversion here on SMCI. And you know what? If it holds this trend line and breaks back out, then I should start going long off the trend line. But right now, I'm hunting the short.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one to watch out for. Kind of spoke on this as we came on for the afternoon here. But yeah, very strong. I mean, myself and a few other traders here had some strong conviction for the short off of the open there. It gave that move to us all the way into prior day's highs. You can see prior day's highs, consolidation closing near the highs there on SMCI, bounces aggressively right off of that, and then reclaims that VWAP, spending a couple hours there really, kind of pulling back, consolidating, holding, and then breaking that trend, and then breaking out of that downtrend of prior highs, and then just boom, straight to the upside. And yeah, I think weekly, I know that Neil was pointing this out a little bit earlier, but something to note is the weekly trend on this ticker right here. So I think I did draw it in. Yeah, right here. So this downtrend, we were talking about this downtrend. So this downtrend kind of being at that, well, here on the 53 roughly, but this is a weekly, right? So we already kind of broke out of it. So looking at it from a daily perspective, you can see that prior day, we did kind of push past that trend, and then now we're pulling back in, holding that prior day high, getting that aggressive strength. So yeah, a little bit of a trend break here happening on the daily on SMCI. So what will we have in store? I have no idea, but it seems like it wants to run into next week where everyone's anticipating a potential report from them, and that's their deadline as well. So SMCI, wild one on the day.
Crazy.
All right, guys, JTAI rocket shipping today up 115%. It's off the highs. It was trying to break through that $9 area, work its way up into 10. It's defending that 8. I feel like it's putting in those higher lows. Keep your eye out on that. The headline is that it announced a 50 megawatt project as a part of a new 120-acre campus, guys. The market likes that, trading at 8 3/4.
Oh, sure. Wow. Okay, so I get it. 115% is more than 17%. There's no question about it. So you can't argue with it. JTAI is an absolute rocket. The one thing that we highlighted this in the morning show, the one thing to consider here is the reverse split tops, which are now very clearly in focus as we get to that $9 level. Like you could make an argument that maybe you've already had the test, but each time it really has wicked to $10, and I just feel like there's one double top that could break in here, and then you go to those wick highs. I didn't pay for locates, but I'm pretty sure I would not take a double top break in here with that kind of overhead resistance. I feel as if this is going to be a reversion possibility. Like if I see it go into 10 and then come back out on the downside, like I'd want to be short that move, just based on what I see there on the daily chart for JTAI. When you see something like this, I feel like you've already taken your profit. And if you haven't, like the break of the prior high, the consolidation above it, like all that stuff has already played itself out. So I'm not a chaser of this stock at these levels, even though it looks like a classic, hey, it's trending up and above VWAP and it's got a double top, so why wouldn't you just take it? The volume's still there. But it's a pass for me because of those crazy wick levels. Like you almost need to clear those out at like 10.5, and then some crazy, stupid stuff could probably happen.
Yeah, I think, one second, I just got to put this in right here. But yeah, no, didn't really have eyes on this one off of the open. But yeah, a little bit of a continuation move. It seems like it seems a little bit like a liquidity trap here, Neil. Friday we had aggressive volume. We had that push up all the way up into 830s, but no real pullback, no real kind of breakdown here on significantly lower volume coming in the next day. I don't know if we had a catalyst on this one today or not, but reclaiming some of those levels from Friday and starting to push back up here. So definitely smelling like a little bit of a squeeze here on JTAI, and definitely trending like one as well. So could be interesting. That high from that Friday is exactly $8.20, and look at that consolidation that we had just now over that, pushing up into that 9.5 level. But yeah, no, JTAI, I know a lot of people have been involved in this one today. Congratulations to all the longs. Swing shorts, oh boy.
Rest in peace. I don't know.
Oh boy, it is, guys. All right, Meta, last one here, down 1 3/4. We break that 20-day win streak yesterday. It's still, above that $700 area, briefly dropped below it, back up into 703 1/3. So it looks like Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, obviously was offloading some shares there. He sold about $14.5 million worth in February. Separately, though, Mark Zuckerberg, obviously the CEO of Meta, as I mentioned, is Sam Altman's ChatGPT bleed talent, ex-OpenAI CTO Mira Murati, who was briefly, when Sam Altman was ousted, the CEO of the company. The name of her new AI company, Thinking Machine Labs, and it looks like she's poaching some of the talent, guys.
Ooh, poaching talent.
What a continuation on that one.
Yeah, I think a stock that's 20 days in a row to the upside, yeah, probably just should have been a continuation short. The only reason, and I can't speak for Obi, but I can 100% speak for myself, I was probably never going to have this short trade when I was looking for SMCI off the open short. And then on top of that, by the time you got to 930, like you were already so far away from the levels that I would have liked. That's still the 15 minutes. So I was looking at a 15-minute to go over some Tesla and SMCI. But yeah, by the time you got to the open, you had bled pretty far away from where I wanted to short it. Like I just preferred shorts at that crazy rally level that we had in the afternoon, right at the close in some of those big cap tech stocks. And I wanted to play off those levels today. So it was a missed opportunity for, I think probably an easy continuation short. And I went over a few things in the lesson of the day, not to go over, hey, this is why we won on this stock or that stock, but what we could have traded that might have been easier than the things that we did win on. You could make the argument that simply shorting Meta at the prior day low retest would be in that regard. It's just a simple lunchtime setup. That said, I promise you, there's just about no trader, and I wasn't necessarily, I was doing the lesson of the day this time, almost no trader would have been looking at Meta at this moment that wouldn't, you're looking at SMCI probably, the way that it was going. But it was a pretty easy one off that top to give you that continuation short. I think you default to that, at least for the next couple of days, because you got the 50 period in there, you've got the 675 level. There's a few things that'll come into play, even like a 700 breakdown. 20 days up in a row, Zuck sells. You were due for this to happen. I just felt like there were more exciting trades out there. And you go and get your few dollars out of Meta. SMCI was moving $4 at the open, and that is a much cheaper stock. Percentage move just way bigger on SMCI. You get like 5-6% at the open on Meta. You just were never going to get that.
Yeah, I think Meta, again, that continuation was the one. I even had it down on my plan for this morning, looking for that Meta continuation to the downside. Didn't really participate in it, but absolutely beautiful action off of the open where we do reject that. Again, 925 imbalances kind of crack through that prior day low, and then all of a sudden you get that continuation coming in right off of the open. Opening range highs can't really get past that prior day low, and then holding VWAP as well. Sellers kind of showing themselves. But since then, we've found a bit of consolidation here, holding this VWAP, holding above VWAP, holding above 700 as well on Meta. So I think the trade here was right off of the morning. What is it going to do now? I have no idea. But we kind of talk about that first kind of a strong red day after multiple days of closing higher and higher. We got something that was distinctly different yesterday, and we got a little bit of that continuation coming in off of the open once again today. So where will we go from here, Neil? I have no idea, but maybe a little bit of a pullback if we can use that 700 as a bit of over and under. So that's what I got on Meta, but just going to keep it on watch.
That's for you, Nimrod. Chat. Thank you for the super chat. But Sharif just left to go to the gym. 5K plus on JTAI. At Sharif Goat. We appreciate you, Nimrod. I'm glad you were on that one. That's the thing. I think someone, I didn't get exactly the context of it, but I think it was something along the lines of someone said, Sharif, you're trading the wrong stocks or something like that today. And so I know what.
No.
Both of us heard the same thing. Look, I don't want to put words in somebody's mouth, but it was something along those lines. We were just like, hey man, he trades small cap stocks or like lower float runners. It's a genre of stocks. If that's what you trade, you be on JTAI today. If you trade gap and goes or continuations, you're on, or look at volume leaders, you're on SMCI. If you trade big cap tech, I'd venture maybe you're on Meta or Nvidia, but it's usually not that complicated in a general sense by this point of the day, like what you should be in. But yeah, if you're a small cap trader, I don't think there was something better necessarily than JTAI, with the exception of that one run in the quantum names. Like that was different. We had one rally in the quantum names. I just want to quickly show you Nvidia. We took the trend break. It never went more than our 1480 level, so it goes about 25 cents in the money. Tight stop, trend trade, work right away or don't work. And it sort of worked right away, but then came right back in. And this is in the context of the market making some highs in here. So we took the shot at it. I like that type of an entry in a strong stock. But if it's not going to give it to me, I don't want to average back down into the prior trend line. I can let it get to VWAP and try again off a support level at about 139.50. So I'd rather play it that way. You see, that's the style I like. It's a style that's definitely been working for me lately to try to keep it a bit tighter. I keep looking up at SMCI thinking, what gives? I swear I'm hitting save on this. I know it's crazy, but I can keep redrawing this. Watch, I'm going to redraw that day-long trend line. I'm going to hit save twice. Now it's good. SMCI just continues to hold on to the trend. So this is another one that bears watching. It's been unbelievably strong. Between this, SMCI, Nvidia, Intel, which I'm kind of eyeballing the same thing too, but maybe for a different trade, Obi.
Yeah.
And then that JTAI, they've got to be on your watch list. They're all moving. I'm sort of looking at Intel along these lines. Whoops. Like it just broke. Could be late on this. Like it just held VWAP, but it broke this trend, the all-day trend, and now above VWAP. The only thing that gives you pause is when you look at it on the 30. That's a full percentage point from here before you really even break through theoretical resistance and morning resistance. So I feel like the long needed to be like you had to have it really tight to like 25.80 or so, and then risk like 5 to 10 cents, and not risk 25 cents. To go, I think, kind of against the grain today on Intel, because Intel's been a short most of the day today. So still SMCI we're watching, and obviously this JTAI we're gonna put in there. I did pay for locates on JTAI, just so you know. It's now up and almost breaking that $10 level. Whoops, wrong direction. Just to show you the daily chart, this is what's happened at the $10 area before. If it fails that, I'd take a shot at the reversion. Decent chance if it fails a breakout of those highs. It might be too quick and too fierce to get a punch down back through. Sometimes it's just how it is, but I'll give it the old college try to steal a Sharifism because we're talking JTAI, but it has to do a false break. It's got to break that 10, not break 10.50, and then fail that breakout.
Yeah, another strong ticker on the day here is Hims and Hers. Again, looking back at it, it's still holding above that VWAP, still strong on the day here. VWAP being at 69.13. We're trading at 70 halves here with a high of 72.98, almost 73. So yeah, aggressive push right off of the open, and we've sustained. Buyers still kind of holding this thing up above VWAP on the day here. But yeah, I don't really have too much else on watch other than Intel and maybe, yeah, a little bit of SMCI. Let's see if it gives us any sort of opportunity going into the close. I haven't really had any fills on it just yet. And yeah, just watching and waiting. I think, again, we were discussing, I was discussing with some of my pod members there earlier about what the potential best opportunities on SMCI might have been. And yeah, we came up with a few points and counterpoints. What's going on? Yes.
Pod
sir.
members?
Yeah, like trading pod.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like trading pod members. Yeah.
Look, man, you see, I'm one of those people where like I'll just ask the question. If I don't understand
Oh, you were
something,
asking a question. I thought you were going to say.
no, I put my hand up.
Fair.
No, I'm one of those. Like if I didn't get something, I'm literally just gonna ask you. So pod members, I like that.
Yeah, trading pod members, just people who trade relatively similar, but maybe not always. But people who I can definitely bounce some ideas and discussions.
You got to use the trade
of.
ideas. So the trade IDs, right? Like I don't want to name names. Is Yush part of that?
Is who?
Yush?
No.
No? Okay.
No, it's just. I mean, Wayne's in there.
Well,
Yanni's in there. A couple other people join as well. Shout out to everybody who's in there. But yeah, nice little tight knit group and good discussions nonetheless.
Yeah, there's some traders formerly on the floor that are like either remote or on different trading floors now that still stay in touch with at all times. I shouldn't say at all times, but like try to talk about ideas with at times. I just want to quickly show something because I know Adair was on MSTR, which we acknowledged at the time, one of the more gorgeous outs that you will ever see on a trade to not turn a winning trade into a losing trade. And so I'll get to that in a second. But IBIT and Bitcoin caught some kind of a bid here right after we came on, after the Fed minute release, right? So there is your move back into the upside, right into VWAP. MSTR is having one of those days where it's just weak relative to whatever is going on in Bitcoin. So you can see it tried to bounce, Bitcoin's holding higher, it's back at the low. And I think it was right in somewhere in here. Like Adara had this reversion long and managed to get out, and I'm not making this up, here on the out. So you get the long there, you get out here, and then that candle on a 3-minute goes another $2 to that. So that's a gorgeous out. And that's the idea of not turning a winning trade into a losing trade. I absolutely love that. Because that's a level where you're like, oh, it was good before. You could like average into it. It's all sorts of things you could do wrong there. So that's a fantastic out. But the other one I wanted to point out, because someone just said, Neil, look at your favorite short. So notice Bitcoin bounced, Mara kind of bouncing, MSTR absolutely not bouncing. So if I like the short, I'd be trying to find it at MSTR, I think, and maybe not Mara. That said, I do usually like it when it pulls back into prior support for resistance. But I wouldn't do that unless you're getting some actual weakness in Bitcoin. And I'm not really seeing that in IBIT right now. You're holding underneath VWAP, but you need to almost break this trend down, and then you could join a Mara. I still have eyes on SMCI. I feel like this is the one, it's getting very close to a day-long trend break. It's now underneath the high, going sideways. I just feel like if it closes underneath this trend line, I'm going to be short and then take that shot. And if you're going to go against the grain, you should have a very specific plan of action, one way or another. So it's a very specific, it has to break this trend or I'm not touching that short with a 10-foot pull. It's that or JTAI at this point. And JTAI just did that 10 break. Not the most convincing break. Like it wasn't a parabolic move through 10 and it got to 1030. So part of me was like, well, I kind of wanted it to be extreme. I was looking for it to break 10. It just happened now as I was talking. I was kind of looking for it to break 10 again, maybe do a little bit more of a psych out because I don't know how many longs just got trapped on JTAI. It did not seem to me like there were many people punching long on that break or getting stopped out, which is what you want to see on a reversal. I didn't get that sense at all in the tape. You don't see that big of a volume spike. I'm expecting it to like spike through with the biggest volume candle of the day for a reversal. Maybe if it does it a second time, I would look for the reversal. It's going to be particular. It's a very strong stock. If you're going to short it, you should be very, very strict with what you need to see to go short a stock like this. So that wasn't a big enough parabolic break, in my opinion. Way too weak of a break. Sahid, Neil, please review GME. Is it a short or a long? Thanks.
Oh boy.
I'm not sure GME is anything unless there was a catalyst today.
Yeah, was there something? I think they've been moving around over the past
GameStop,
4 days.
GameStop, unless somebody tweeted something or there's a news story or they actually went through with buying Bitcoin, something. I don't know what moves the stock. So in a general sense, the long's been the 200 period and the short has been every single time it's gone up in a single day or two, generally speaking. But outside of that, there's no real catalyst for it. At some point, if they do invest in Bitcoin, maybe it'll start moving around a little bit more for those reasons. They've just talked about it, and that's pretty much it. So just JTAI could be doing it might have been the short. It just ran 10 again and went to like 10, 11. It's a very unconvincing break. Could always just give it to the lower high. If I start to see sellers in front of 10, I might just short in front of 10 and give it to the lower high here instead of the high of the day. That's another discussion we had with regards to Adara's trade. Right. There are situations on stocks that have more slippage and more spread that you might want to at least consider not stopping out at the obvious level and stopping out tighter. And the reason for that is there's going to be generally liquidity in here to make sure that you get a good out. Like if I stop here at 10.15, only risking 20 pennies on this, there's almost no chance I'm going to get slipped past the high of the day. You stop out at the high of the day, A, it's extra risk to begin with, B, your slippage is huge, right? So as it runs higher, I'm not concerned about whether I'm going to get liquidity on this because I nibbled in. Like, look at this. If it breaks, look at that out. See how tight that out was? Like, I literally risked exactly what I want to on that kind of a trade, where my upside is that it could pull back into 9. Now, you stop at the high of the day, that's not me. I'm just saying. Like, sometimes that fill is 10.55 or something along those lines. I don't know why I decided to do that. I just like that Shahid joke. And I actually really like that fill. So as we were talking about it in the wild, took the shot at it, gave it the tighter stop. It's a very, very small hit relative to what you can win. But that's because I wasn't giving it to the high of the day. And there's certain situations you want to do that. That's what Adara did on that MSTR trade. Is find a situation where maybe you don't want to give it to that obvious level. And instead of giving it past, you give it underneath. Now look at that sucker go. Feeling even better than that.
Some of these tickers, man, absolutely wild. Another one, some of the other ones we were looking at were quantum names. We saw IONQ going crazy during the midday. As soon as we kind of got off, I was like, IONQ, as we passed it to Sharif and Adara, because this is what happened right at 11 o'clock right there. We pull back right into VWAP 34. Look at that consolidation hold. And then now currently pushing right back up towards those day highs there. And again, there was news with Microsoft. Something about unveiling something in the quantum field there. So MSFT also kind of, have you seen Microsoft at all today? Absolutely crazy there. Consolidation, consolidation, and again, that's right at 11 as well. So this catalyst definitely carrying that Microsoft and some of that quantum sector along with it. What's up, Adara?
It's going to repeat that catalyst because it did happen basically during the throw. So it happened pretty quickly. Just to recap, the Microsoft catalyst was The Verge reporting that Microsoft apparently has announced a quantum computing breakthrough with this chip called Majorana 1. Apparently, Microsoft has spent 17 years researching a new material and architecture for quantum computing. So MSFT here with some quantum developments as reported by The Verge. We had that basically right at 11. That's why you got this pop in the quantum names, though Microsoft was a little bit delayed to react to that catalyst, guys.
Thank you very much.
And also, it's not just Microsoft and those other names. IBM is at almost 52-week highs. We should always strive to be more particular. I just want to. There was a really, really good question, and it was just asked now, because oftentimes as traders, we'll use two terms, one spread and two slippage interchangeably. They're related, but they are not the same thing. The spread is simply on any given stock. I'm on Rivian right now, but there isn't a spread on Rivian, so let's just do that. Kind of a spread on JTAI. Like the spread is just the difference between the bid and the ask. You're seeing 3-4 cents, kind of 2 cents every now and then. So it's a couple of pennies to as much as 3 or 4, the spread on JTAI. The slippage, however, refers to how far past like a stop level or an area where you enter your order to aggressively get in or out of position and your actual execution. So what I can tell you, this is going to be hard to see, but my stop was at 15, my execution was at 18. So it triggered at 16, my slippage was 2 cents on this stock. Pretty much what the spread was. Now I would venture to say that the slippage, if it broke the high of the day, was not going to be 2 cents. It would have been an extra loss. So they're related terms, but they're not exactly the same. Slippage needs to be part of your execution plan and your risk plan. And actually, there's another thing. I had this discussion pre-split SMCI where I had traded it on the show, and you wouldn't have been able to tell, but I had basically had like one of my best trades that month. It was my best trade of the month, and Max was on the show with me, And after the morning was done, and I was kind of going over the trade, I went to Max and was like, that was the dumbest trade ever. And even though it had been a big win, what had happened was I trailed out of the last third, pretty standard practice to do that all the time. And when I looked at the slippage that I got trailing out the key level on SMCI, and this is pre-split, I came to the realization that if this trade had not worked and I had stopped out the whole thing instead of trailed out in the money, I would have lost almost twice as much as I was expecting to based on the slippage alone. So that risk to reward was garbage on the trade because it was riskier than I thought and the slippage was huge. And then I realized, okay, probably don't trade this stock again until they split. And that's why I didn't really trade it again until they split. Now much more reasonable and there's less slippage on it. So Microsoft, an absolute rocket ship. The JTAI is now through that prior high. So now it's doing stupidity stuff. Now it's in the squeeze territory. I wanted my shot at it before it did that, and I'm happy we're only risking a small amount there. And again, stopped it before the high of the day because I didn't want to take any extra hit when going against the grain. Nvidia's not doing anything. SMCI, I hate to say it's fallen asleep, but it really has. Like I thought this was going to be the one, like either you're going to get a breakout of the top and it just keeps squeezing, or we're going to get that trend break and we take a shot that way. But neither one of those two things are happening here on SMCI. I see Daniel Payne talking about Axon. That's one I don't know. AXON. Why are we talking about? Why are you mentioning this over and over again? $600 name. Is there a story here?
Maybe.
Maybe. It's SSR, but the volume is pitifully low on this. Let's go to Adara.
Axon never really gets much volume. I think that's worth noting here too with, oh, I spelled it wrong. That's a Z. AXON. There is a catalyst on this. I did look this up earlier today. So apparently Investors Business Daily, some people were circulating rumors that they had sold a position in Axon. It's unclear if that was a short sell or a sell of some shares or options that were held. But regardless, apparently some people circulating online that Axon has been sold by Investors Business Daily. So that was the deal there with AXON, and potentially only catalyst I saw on it anyway here, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, that's very, very light liquidity. I think that's more like maybe you could swing trade that stock or play with options, something along those lines. Not much of a day trade at all.
Let's go. Sorry, no, I'm talking to the tape here, and I'm like, all right.
I see tape.
I see the bidders. I see. Well, no, I don't see bidders. I see sellers hitting the tape, and I'm like, all right, yeah, hit the tape. You know, you got to give them. You got to give them some motivation sometimes. Sometimes cheer them on, and hope that it has some. No, I'm joking. I'm just just trying to have some fun with it right here. Just taking some scalps. Sorry, try what?
Tapping the screen.
Tapping the screen. Oh, you know what? I saw this. I think I saw this on like an Instagram or like a TikTok video. This guy was blowing the screen like, and it actually the candle actually moved. And I was like, that's an interesting strategy.
I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure that makes a very entertaining TikTok video. I wouldn't know because I'm not on TikTok. Yeah,
the backdoor prophet saying, "Oh, you need more confluence." Yes, I'm always looking for that confluence.
Well,
what if? But the thing
your
is,
screen could have dust on it.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of reasons
there could be something blocking that price action. You know, it doesn't always have to be a held bid or offer.
I should use one of those air things to clean this keyboard. Like there's all kinds of reasons why you might engage with that.
Oh boy.
I don't even. We're gonna go to Adara, Tesla. I'm gonna Tesla when we come back.
I just want to keep you guys aware here of Palantir actually dropping a little bit here. It dropped roughly 50 cents. Washington Post reporting that the Trump administration has ordered the Pentagon to cut their budget here apparently by 8%. So 8% budget cuts. Apparently these cuts are going to be taking place over a 5-year period. So keep an eye on PLTR and any defense names. We know Palantir gets a lot of government contracts, and apparently said government budget going to get a little bit of a trim here, guys. PLTR also, I think one thing too with Palantir that is of note here is a lot of people speculate that of any of these defense names that's likely to get impacted by budgeting, it might be impacted slightly less because the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, apparently is close with some of the people who are involved in names like Palantir and Anduril. Regardless, PLTR, they're dropping. Definitely on watch if we get a defense budget cut. Back to you.
There, I said I was going to go over Tesla in just a quick second. It's at VWAP and could be, I emphasize the could be making a break. So this is the trend from the high, as you can see, respected pretty much from the point it made the high. It's been respected this entire time. So it just hung on to VWAP. Next step would be breaking back above this trend, and then suddenly you'd have something going here in Tesla. You know, I guess if I wanted it to do, I saw someone in the chat was like, you could just, this is not a green marker, but instead you could just draw a green candle, and then maybe that would make the stock move the way you wanted it to, assuming you want it to go up. But no, I just, it's hilarious to me what passes for entertainment on TikTok.
Yeah, no, I know.
Blowing on the screen.
No, I gotta. You know what? I'll find that video for you guys because I know Neil wants to see it as well. But I'm sure it's on like YouTube or whatever. But yeah, quick out of that intel. Took my 10 pennies, walked away. Again, what am I seeing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm seeing. Sometimes it's all. Whoa, there's a push right there. So this was the thing. This was a higher low right here. So I was like. Yeah, maybe we are bidding up, but I want to see, this is in and around VWAP. We're kind of breaking that down. Let's see if it comes actually into that trend. We did pull down into that trend, into 88s, and then I started covering a little bit there, nothing too crazy. Oh, that's the wrong window. Nothing too crazy. I did start covering, going into the level, and yeah, I had to punch out half of it on, I think I got out, yeah, 96 halves. So I got the half penny above the 96 on this aggressive bid because I'm like, oh boy, yeah, that bid up about a lot more than was bidding up on the sell down. And yeah, look at that aggressive bid taking us right back up to my original stop. But yeah, that price action dictates sometimes the position management. And I'm like, I don't even want to give it to my stop if you're going to bid that aggressively because buyers were getting taken out and now they're not anymore. And we're holding this trend a little bit to the upside here. Again, VWAP. This is the anchored from prior day's open. So again, the dark black is anchored to the open from prior day. We saw in the morning session, was this a morning session? Yeah, going into the midday session, we kind of false broke that, a little bit of a false break of 26 as well. That was a quick little scalp. Didn't really hold much into fruition there as it did hold VWAP on a lower high and then just bled out here for a nice little puke to give us a higher low. So I was like, yeah, if this pukes and then gives us a higher low relative to the opening range low like that, I do want to respect that. And if we're going to trend off of that as well, I definitely want to respect that. And yeah, quick little scalp counter trending. I've had a lot of counter trend trades today, Neil. Just trying to take pieces off of.
You're a mean reversion trader. You could. There's no part of mean reversion traders are almost going to have always counter trend trades. That said, there's that counter trend trade where you're getting the pullback and then you're trading the trend reversion back in the direction it was going before. So like think of like a stock failing a high of daybreak on an upward trend, pulling back into VWAP and then trending back up, which Tesla's trying to do literally right now. That's why I said it. Vinu, shout out to you in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. And this is, trust me when I say this is not my comments. I should have listened to your comments, not to short a company based on some company reporting short, lost on the T-Dog based on a short report. So this is something, as long as I have been in this game, and as long as JTAI is going nuts, by the way, as long as I've been around the markets, the same thing has always been true with these short seller reports. They have a job, they have a way that they make money, and it just comes down to, typically speaking, when these things come out, there's an exit liquidity aspect to this. Now, the difference, what made this one especially dangerous, a lot of times you have no idea when they put that on. Usually, okay, well, maybe they just recently shorted that big pop into it, and then the short seller report comes out because you're scared. You don't want to get that out in a moment like this. So that's the danger. You're the exit liquidity a lot of times when the report comes out because they've already put the position on.
Yes.
And when a stock has a big short float, sometimes this can happen. And that's a bullish looking chart going into this on Teladoc. And it's a wisdom that we've all picked up over the years when we've been around the markets. Where I'm usually looking for some kind of a long off that, whether it's day 2 or day 3. I just missed a story on Lockheed and defense names.
You have to do
I know,
some
and as I was
marketing.
talking, something happened on the defense names.
Damn.
Here.
Yeah,
So
something's definitely going on there.
all I simply heard was I was able to catch Lockheed, but I wanted to finish my thought there. And probably, I'm going to make a guess, like Raytheon probably moved as well, but LMT just pulling back probably has to do with some Doge defense spending. But let's get the actual story from Adara.
Not saying anything new here on Lockheed, but I suspect that this has to do with that catalyst I gave earlier, because we actually got a little bit of volume to the downside a bit earlier for Lockheed Martin. So to recap said catalyst, Washington Post reporting that apparently the Trump administration is ordering the Pentagon to plan for an 8% budget cut and then also seek further cuts over the next 5 years. So budget cuts for the Pentagon likely to impact defense names like LMT. We know Palantir got a bit of a push lower on this story as well. But if I see anything specific to LMT, I will let you know. Back to you.
And everybody, each year, 3.8 million concussions are reported in the U.S., yet there is still no FDA-approved treatment. New York Stock Exchange listed Orgenix, which is OGEN on the NY, is changing that with its first-in-class intranasal drug designed for rapid brain access. With the concussion treatment market projected to reach $8.9 billion by 2027, Orgenix is uniquely positioned to lead the way. And learn more, schedule a meeting today. I think you can probably put 2 and 2 together as a former athlete. We're going to have Brett Favre on tomorrow to talk about it. And you know what? From personal experience, when I was younger, I had an undiagnosed concussion. I was on vacation. I got thrown off of, it's one of those like unlicensed banana boat rides. Guy was going way too fast past regulation and got thrown. I head hit in the water. The local doctor at the resort completely misdiagnosed. My doctor was pissed off when we got back. And they're like, what? And you had these symptoms? And they didn't realize it was a concussion? Where'd this person go to med school? That was that whole thing. And it's a scary thing. And brain health is, it's literally everything. So shout out to them and good luck to them, OGEN. So that story is actually continuing to maybe cause some waves here. 8% is not a small amount of funding for them to cut. And LMT is already on the bleed. That said, I've been eyeballing this for, I've probably mentioned this a couple of times since it broke the 200 period. I've been eyeballing this for a reversion trade. There might have already been one, 460. You could have had a 10% reversion here, but I don't think that's the level I've been looking at. And just go back to 2022 and $400 on Lockheed Martin. Feel like this is where we're headed. 400, 400, 400, 400, 400. We get down there and start to pull a mean reversion on LMT. I mean, you can cut the budget, but some things, unfortunately, are always true. I just feel like there's going to be, at some point, I'm looking for a bounce in those stocks. I don't know if it's going to be yet. I don't want to jump the gun on it. I want to make sure either gets to my level or doesn't. All right, here comes SMCI. It's trying to close underneath the day-long trend line, or at least from 9:40 or 9:50 in the morning to this moment here, where SMCI has held the trend. So in looking for the mean revert, if it can break a fresh high after bouncing off here, then great. I don't mind being in the long if it can do that, but I want the test of this level first. It's held that trend all day. Let's see if it can continue to do it. It is now power hour as well.
Oh boy.
Did Nvidia break? No, still looking at Tesla's trying to break as well, but Tesla has not broken yet either. It's doing a little bit. While I'm waiting for this to not happen potentially, just going to quickly show you guys Tesla. No, Tesla did break. That chart is lying to me. Tesla did break higher, so I want to see if I should get into Tesla here. Yeah, Tesla did break. I don't know why I have one chart that I'm looking up at. Rather, I drew the trend line incorrectly, or it's just a little bit misaligned. But we did break the trend on Tesla, and I had to stop at the wrong price. So I just punched in and out and paid some fees. But we'll just get back in the same price. Give it to the prior bar low, which, oddly enough, is going to end up being exactly 362 even at that low. If you go tight stop, you're talking about the 30s, which is a little bit too tight on Tesla. I think you got to at least approximate the dollar level on Tesla to try to give it a little bit more room. So we're in a Tesla on the long. SMCI is very, very, very close as well. It's just teetering. Like at any moment, this could break, and then I'm going into the short. We had to pay for locates here at Real Trading. So to go short on Tesla, on SMCI, there was a small fee. It was incredibly small, fractions of a cent here. But I am going to try this short if we get the breakdown. So Tesla reversion, SMCI reversion, chill vibes. Why is SMCI always pumping? Because it's been going higher ever since they said that they are going to meet the deadline. They expect to meet the deadline to file next week on Tuesday, to file their earnings, which have been long awaited. and it's been beaten up going into this during this whole ordeal. So just a relief rally, it seems like to me. Shorts covering as well, lots of shorts in the stock.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to what you were talking about, the short report, saying that how people have already positioned in and they put out the report. More often than not, that day, the volume that comes in is their exit liquidity. And that makes a lot of sense. In order to, just from like a business perspective, in order to sell a product, you got to do some marketing. You need to create the liquidity.
Ding, ding, ding.
So that you need to invite the counterparty to the arena so that you can conduct your business. And I think that's a classic example of that if and when that does happen.
Invite them to the party.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you get your invitation, you're like, hey, everybody, we shorted XYZ. And then that day we get a strong bid with relative volume coming in. And I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know exactly what's happening. I can assume what's happening, but there could be a little bit of a fugaze going on there. But yeah, interesting stuff. And again, at the end of the day, it's just supply and demand, and some of the stuff that revolves around that, and some of the ways that those short reports and short companies kind of or short funds kind of conduct their business is interesting. But again, as a day trader, do I really care? Not really. There's opportunities involved in and around some of those events as well. So there's a lot of fish in the sea, a lot of big ones and a lot of small ones, and we're just I'm just a guppy, so we're trying to find our way here.
Bubble guppy?
Bubble guppy?
You don't know what that is?
No, I have no idea. I know what guppies are. Remember when
it's a kids show.
When I lived in the Caribbean for a while, because
I didn't. Hold on a second.
You knew this.
No, I did not.
You knew this.
No, I did not know. Oh, there goes Tesla. Hold on a second. There's Tesla at VWAP. Tesla just broke VWAP. I'm in SMCI, but that reversion doesn't work to the long side. The market's also at the highs. So we did get in, but we adhered to our stop. I could have given it the tight stop, but we gave it into that 362 even. We took the shot on that reversion, and now we're into the SMCI one, which I would argue is probably, it seemed to me, the riskier one, because the other one, like the Tesla one, is almost like an on trend. This is on a trend break here in SMCI. But there's the entry, giving it to the prior bar high, not even the high of the day. Just like in, what was that stock? JTAI. Just like in JTAI, I want to give it to the prior bar high. And then you can tell me when, I didn't know you lived in the Caribbean. I don't think you told me this.
Neil, you know this. You knew, so
Which island?
I went to school there for.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Okay, so.
Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't know. That's my bad.
So a lot of when you live on an island, sometimes maybe the water has to be kind of brought in. Sometimes maybe there aren't many water filtration systems connected to the thing. So a lot of water that's collected is rainwater.
Yes.
Right? And then you have to obviously filter and clean that rainwater. And surprisingly enough, inside the rainwater tank, before it goes through all of its filters and all the stuff, they actually put guppies in there. There's this dude that goes around and he fills guppies into the water tanks because the guppies actually eat bacteria and small microbes. So it's a natural filter, and then those go through other water filters as well, like man-made filters. And then, I thought it was a really cool concept.
You know.
But when I found out I was drinking guppy water, I was like, oh boy.
Wow, that's
Thank
just.
you, Fabian. So
There you go. See?
I'm just a little guppy. I don't know.
See?
For now.
I mean, you learned. See, you're here. You got trade ideas. You get market content. You get to learn about options on a regular basis, small cappers. I mean, everything is there for you, and you get a little bit of knowledge about water filtration in the Caribbean. You still, I believe, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm pretty sure you still didn't say what island you were on.
It was a small island off of St. Martin.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, that's good.
Shout out to Saba.
Nice.
Saba. They call it the jewel of the Caribbean because it's untouched by a lot of corporations, a lot of commercial. There's no fast food. It's all private businesses.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
There was a Domino's.
the jewel.
Domino's on St. Martin. So what you can do, because there's a 15-minute flight from St. Martin to Saba, what we would do, we would call in pizza because they would have a delivery service, and I would sit on my porch and use my binoculars to watch the pizza fly in, and then the taxi driver would pick up the pizza from the airport and
that's so joke.
come up to the house.
Just don't do it on. Just don't.
Have you ordered pizza off a plane before? Because I definitely have.
That's so dope.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Just don't let Liat fly it in because, yeah. Shout out to Liat in the Caribbean because there's no chance it would ever come on time. Liat, look, man.
I forget which airline it was.
If you're from the West Indies, you know.
No.
You know exactly. You know exactly what I'm
yeah.
saying. Your schedule on a Liat flight. Just understand that there's expectations and then there's reality, and the reality sets in real quick as to when you are actually going to get in the air and land.
True.
And it's whenever it happens. Sometimes they'll just be like, yo, you're in the middle of the air, but yo, by the way, we're now stopping at this island too to pick some people up. You're like, what?
Yeah, drop a couple of people off, right?
You can't just go to another island in the middle of the flight. It's like, yes, we can.
Yeah.
And you're like, whatever. You didn't. It's Liat, so you paid like cab fare to go on that.
So lax, so laid back. I love it.
That's balling right there.
Yeah. I mean,
how is that? Hold on a second. Okay, let's just take a step back.
Okay.
How could that possibly be? No. Now, how is that possibly cost? It doesn't make any sense.
Cost effective. So the Domino's pizza is at the airport, right? And all they do, because the flight's already happening, they just throw it on the flight. And then they charge. I think the charge for that was like $10, $10 USD. Extra?
Yeah, but hold on.
Ordering?
Nobody knows when you're going to order the pizza.
So you have to align it. You have to align it.
You're aligning it.
I have to align it to the flight.
Okay, so you didn't say that before.
No, I have to align
there's a logic.
Because I know if I know there's a 4:30 flight coming in, I got to order the pizza by like 3 o'clock, 3:30, being like, can I get it on that flight? Can I get it for that flight? And then you can see it coming in. But yeah, there was a deal there. So that was the only commercial kind of thing that we used to get flown in. But shortest commercial landing strip in the world, 500 meters, drop off into the ocean on both sides. So twin propeller plane, these things can stop on a dime, but that landing is absolutely beautiful.
And you got in one of those things?
Of course.
They have boats.
No, I took the ferry a couple times.
Okay.
Free drinks on the ferry the whole time. But the thing is, you might get a little sick if you're, because those waters are not, it's either, do I
drop into the ocean on either side?
Do I take a boat for an hour?
Palantir is dropping like a rocket right now, by the way.
I saw people telling me to short it.
Okay, so just very quickly, I'm gonna get the Palantir on this defense story in just a quick second. But SMCI, there was a held bid at 65. I covered some more at 65. If it breaks 64.40, I'm holding to 63.5. If it breaks 64.40, I'm trailing it back into about 64.6. So we got the mean reversion, but let's remember SMCI is up 16% and is a trend up stock. We got the entry that we wanted. We're scalping out of this. It's a pure scalp trade against the grain. But that Palantir is really going to draw. I thought the whole notion of lowering defense spending, there was a break at 125 in Palantir earlier. The lower of defense spending would be to rotate it potentially into some of the AI solutions. But let's go to it. I think I heard a call for Dara.
Apparently, I'm reading here from Barron's. This came out 4 hours ago, but I'm seeing it circulate a bit now. Apparently, Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir, has adopted a new trading plan. So basically, they're going to be, apparently Palantir itself said this, but Barron's reporting it. So they're going to be selling Alex Karp is going to be selling $1.2 billion worth of stock. So it's, again, this came out 4 hours ago, but PLTR stock sale, in addition to the fact that the Pentagon spending budget might be forcibly cut by Donald Trump's administration. So Pentagon spending cuts and some share sales for PLTR. Keep that on watch. Back to you.
That's definitely interesting there.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that thing is tanking today.
The thing you have to worry about with Palantir is it's been such a run that obviously it's the kind of thing that could change the seed for the market, at least like on a day basis. Like at least for right now, watch out because sentiment in the market could definitely shift. A lot of money's been piling into this thing. This is only since it went to the Nasdaq, which I love pulling up because it shows you the double bottom, just literally from when it changed over tickers. But this could get a little bit spicy. 120, I know 120 is a bit of a level here. That was violated. I guess 118.5. Wow, this could really continue to flush. SMCI is working now $1.50, and I feel like we'll give the assist. We'll give the assist over to Palantir and respect. All right, hit me. I want to pull back into here. can I do this? Is a 15-minute chart going to be able to show? No, the 15 is not going to show it. I'd have to show a weekly chart to go back to tell you that this dip zone around 63 was a big level on a weekly chart for SMCI. But suffice to say, that's where the target was on the reversion trade, not VWAP. I feel like that move accelerated because of the pullback in Palantir, so that was a gift. Like, it was slowly moving down, and then it tanked and gave a couple of bucks because this Palantir move is basically taking everything, except for Intel somehow. Hashtag logic, I guess.
Yeah, that SMCI finally, do you have that? You got into that?
I just got out.
Nice.
And probably a really bad out because it might go to VWAP.
I mean, that thing is actually breaking that trend, like you said, from earlier, and finally catching a little bit of selling. What's up, Adara?
This part of the show is brought to you by Trade Ideas. President's Day savings are here. Get 22% off all new subscriptions with code TraderTV22. But wait, there's more. Upgrade to premium annual and snag a massive 28% off with code TraderTV28. That's right. Huge savings are happening now. So head to the 2025 President's Day sale landing page linked below before February 19th. So that is today. Make sure you do not miss out. Back to you.
Oh, it ends up being a good out. I was about to say it wasn't a good out, but it looks like we're bouncing on
Palantir. Clipped the lows.
Yeah. Palantir. On SMCI, right at that 63.5, so it is catching a little bit of a bid. I mean, if it can put in a lower high at 65, there might be a continuation play. I'm just looking back over. I mean, it's hard to not look at Palantir here, which is still heading down. I know 120 is a psychological level. It was 118.5 that looked like a bigger sort of thing there that could be it. So it's got a lot of room. The thing you got to be cautious with on Palantir is when it's this parabolic up, there's some really large gaps on the way back in. So you can just, hey, look at 120. 120 is 120, but yesterday's low is $118. Support under that was $115. Like you haven't even retraced yesterday's range if you're trying to find a little bit of a bottom here in Palantir. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but happy accident for Palantir. I don't know if we're going to bounce. If we do, it's past. When the stock is weak, make sure it goes to your level. Like the same way I felt about SMCI, like wait for it to make the actual trend break and then take it. Like wait. There's the top on a 15-minute, there's your topping tail candle. There's your break of the trend. There's your pullback into prior support. I think you wait for it if you're trying to bottom pick Palantir on this move. And I don't think this is the spot on Palantir. I'd wait for it to fall a little further.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think the trade on Palantir. Did you have a short earlier, or was that? Oh no, that was the breakout long.
Oh, I didn't.
Wow, the follow through.
I did have. Okay,
the follow through that's happening off of that move.
I should have.
That's absolutely beautiful. Oh my God.
Failed breakouts can sometimes be really good entries short. I'll leave it at that. But I did have a long on Palantir where I got 125.02 immediately, like just it was like offer enter. And immediately got half out at 125, like 33s or 32 or 33, I think I got up there. And then it came back underneath, lost a bit. And I had my stop in like the second I got filled long, so I was getting out regardless. But this rejection, it's the second break that failed, and then the short underneath it, that's the real trade. But I wasn't thinking short on Palantir, so you've got to be thinking reverse short to get that trade. You can't just be like, oh, it's easy to get out of the long when 125 doesn't hold, but you got to be thinking short in order to get that reversion trade, which...
I think that's a lot of information, though. That piece of price action gave you a lot of information, I think. And then, yeah, sure, you get a catalyst that quadunks the ticker, but if you're already sitting short based off of that action, which I think that skews probabilities for the long and short, for sure. It's telling you that sellers are definitely kind of in charge above these prices, and yeah, take a look at that. You get a little bit of catalyst, and the catalyst, I think Adara said that catalyst came out earlier. We recently got the Trump Pentagon news with the 8% cut, and that's what finally drove it down even more. And maybe people making that connection there with Palantir. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. Some price action can be very indicative and has a strong weighting to it in terms of where or how the story is building on the day. And another piece of price action, I think, in my opinion, was the hold of prior day high on SMCI. Now we're getting a little bit of a pullback here, but if you go back and take a look at this low that we made in the morning session, 55 and change, just below that 56. And then again, just that piece of information is not going to give you much, but again, you have that piece of information, and then when it starts to consolidate and then finally breaks out, you're just like, all right, well, back above 60, definitely not going to the downside there, and maybe poised for a bit of continuation. And oh boy, what a continuation! We got 66 double top currently on SMCI, but an aggressive pullback, almost a 3-point pullback off of those highs, maybe a 2-point pullback off of the break of trend here happening on SMCI. Current VWAP sitting at 61.23 with just over 45 minutes left in the trading day. Do not forget, we are in power hour. Market tailwind as well happening as of right now. A bit of a pullback underneath this 22,300. Nice clean little test of this 22,300, an aggressive pullback. First red 15-minute candle on the Nasdaq since about 2:15. So about for the past I guess hour or so, we've had straight greens on both the ES and the Nasdaq, and now starting to catch a little bit of a pullback. Wow, we're down below 63s, Neil, printing some pennies below in the 62s. Here we go, even further. I think if this thing continues to sell off this aggressively, then VWAP is well within range. It's only about a point away here. But SMCI, what a wild move today, giving some of it back, going into the final hour once again.
It's still going.
Wow.
Yeah,
on a move like this, do I really want to chase? I looked at 64s and I was like, well, I could hit 64s, maybe risking just above. It was trading in the 63.80s.
Palantir just broke 120.
And now it's $1 down. Yeah, I'm watching Palantir as well. But absolutely crazy price action. I wasn't ready for it. I'm not going to chase. I'm going to wait for whatever sets up for me next relative to my playbook. What's up, Adara?
This part of the show is brought to you by Firefly Neuroscience. With an FDA-cleared proprietary database of over 77,000 brain images, Firefly is transforming healthcare with AI-driven diagnostics, providing a clear, data-backed understanding of brain health. After more than a decade and over $60 million in investment, Firefly is advancing the commercialization of its brain network analytics BNA platform, bringing the technology to clinicians, and pharmaceutical partners. Firefly is enhancing the diagnosis and treatment of conditions such as depression, dementia, anxiety disorders, concussion, and ADHD, while also accelerating drug discovery and early screening for conditions like Alzheimer's.
Thank you very much, Adara. Palantir is still falling. It's getting a little heavy on the stock. We already showed you SMCI going to the downside. I think there might be a chance you see this 118.5 now. And that's the problem with looking at like an even dollar level. Like either when in doubt, zoom out, and if it's not a big level or like the right setup, even if it gets down to 118.5, you gotta still put a reversal on, and this will be. It might be a fast one, Obi.
That's a 1 ATR drop. Like that.
Yes.
We're at 1 ATR off the open.
Exactly. And it's the exact range from yesterday. Because remember, 125 was also yesterday's high, so it failed yesterday's high and now races into yesterday's bottom, which is now only 80 cents away. So there's a chance it could bounce. But there is some, like, not everything is falling. I don't want people to get the idea that, I don't know why I pulled up Intel just now.
We haven't broken Friday low on Palantir.
No, but like not everything is, like Nvidia is just chilling out doing nothing. As a matter of fact, from when I went long, it's exactly the same price as it was before on Nvidia. Right to get away from it and go over to SMCI because SMCI actually moved. But I think you got to be careful. Not everything is doing this, what's tank, quadunk, flush, whatever word you want to give it. Palantir moving to the downside. It's not there, not just yet. Elizabeth Stott just said Rigetti's approaching the day's high. So quantum up, well, the money's got to. Sometimes it goes out of one, it goes into another. But that was happening already. No, Rigetti, we were just talking about this. The reversion. This is an Obi term.
Yes.
A little convoluted, I must admit, but no, I joke. sometimes you can use
the price.
that same, like instead of taking short SMCI here for that trend, can't believe it's at VWAP or instead of that,
I was like, bro, it's getting.
It was
VWAP.
just-
it's going to VWAP. It's beelining for VWAP. Like it's getting there.
well, you know, okay, fine.
Definitely
that's
don't want to chase it.
FOMO for sure. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so Rigetti, instead of doing that, you can look at a stock that's upward trending and it goes into a support level and breaks the trend and you take the reversion with the overall day's trend for Rigetti. That kind of an entry strategy where you're long here at $10.83 or 84 cents on that break, with the prior low being $10.73. 10 or 11 cents worth of risk on Rigetti. So if you think that, like, yeah, I like these mean reversions, but I don't want to always be short strong stocks or long weak stocks. Well, I present you these types of opportunities in Rigetti. I bet you could have done the same thing on IonQ or on Qubits or D-Wave. IonQ, same thing. Reversion off VWAP, QBTS, I guarantee you, probably, I don't want to guarantee things that are not true. QBTS, same thing, doesn't quite get to VWAP, although it looks like Rigetti is the stronger one right now. But you're right about SMCI. Well, that escalated quickly. We're not short that stock. You can see no positions left.
No,
Let's before we get
I
any
know
more
somebody
FOMO,
who might be though.
Palantir's at $118.50. That happened pretty fast.
That was Palantir as well. Aggressive selling to the downside. I'm watching that one.
Aggressive.
Again, it's catalyst driven, intraday catalyst, maybe confluencing with some of that earlier news on Palantir. But absolutely crazy. Bit of a, I don't know, miss on my part. This was definitely a bit of a playbook move on SMCI, but again, wasn't really expecting it to come in that aggressively and wipe the whole day's move. And I think I was talking to Brankles about this earlier today. I'm like, how many times we expect a certain move and then they just do it at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Like they rinse everybody on both sides, maybe potentially, and then it just happens to come in. Sure, it's not going to go like that all the time, but on the days that it does, it's hilarious. And a little bit of a break of the bid here. BGZ with the super chat, thank you. That PLTR short, thanks guys, you're the greatest. Got a small piece left, $4.50 in the money. Let's go, BGZ. Nice trade, absolutely solid trade there. So at least some of you are catching some of these solid trades that we are bringing to your attention.
BGs.
BGs.
Yeah. Let's go to Adara. We got more
BGVs?
news. No, like the group, BGs.
Fed's Bostic talking right now here, so keep an eye on the market. Fed's Bostic saying apparently that some policy proposals, of course, from the current new administration could add to inflation, but others could actually boost the economy here. Sorry, there's a lot of headlines coming in as we speak. Also, though, Bostic saying that he did not expect progress on inflation would be in a straight line, and then also saying that the confidence around the 2025 outlook has been reduced. So that's the key thing here. Fed having a little bit less confidence in their 2025 outlook. We know we were expecting initially some more cuts here for the year. Now we're seeing less and less likelihood of these cuts coming to pass, especially in the first half of 2025. So Fed's Bostic echoing a lot of what we've already heard, but worth noting still that he is indeed speaking. Back to you.
I want to point something out on Palantir because it's not even just that the news hit. This was also, it's not like the fact that this lines up with the trend here. It's really like you had higher lows going into this, into a flat 124. So you're getting some serious acceleration. But like the second it breaks the trend, the reason why the trends work on trades like this are, it's often like an area where longs will get out. Like if you're in a long from, let's just say like earlier today or like yesterday, like you're holding it, it holds that low. You're like, okay, like it kind of, you're still in some off of VWAP. Maybe your stop is in there, but then it puts in that trend in the afternoon. Like there's all kinds of people that look for selling when something like that breaks, but it's also news-based. There's a heck of a lot that went into that. I just can't get over SMCI. There's no chasing it in here, but yeah, there's a 0% chance that I saw this going $7 to the downside. It's not impossible that SMCI goes into a volatility halt at the pace that it's falling right now. It has overall, it's already moved more than 10%. But remember, it's a 3-minute chart. So this last candle, the last 3 minutes is only $3. It is possible if you get down to 56 prior day close, you might actually get a volatility haul. I cannot believe, like, it's not an everything flush. Tesla is actually breaking back above VWAP right now. But you're seeing a lot of names absolutely give it up. I am definitely surprised when someone told me that Rigetti was at the highs. My first thought was, are you kidding me? A risk stock with a short float is at a high right now with everything falling over? No. If Rigetti breaks trend, did I even pay for locates on this? Goodness, no, you did not, Neil. D-Wave we have locates on, I'm pretty sure. GBTS we should have locates, or GTBS. GBTS, it's got to be. Like, there's got to be a short in one of these quantum names. Rigetti is setting up right now, but I feel like D-Wave we usually have shorts on. I might go pay for some locates because that's absolutely insane. I can't believe you're holding these highs. Obi, have you seen SMCI? You got to look at it.
Yeah, no, I'm. Oh, I'm muted. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm just saying. I just said, "Oh my God," a couple times. I'm just like, "Oh boy." 59's coming in, so SMCI giving it all up. Day lows is at 55.67. We're about 4 points away from that absolute quadunk on the ticker here on SMCI. So absolutely wild. Let's see what we have in store for this. But Dara has some news for us.
More comments coming through from Fed's Bostic. I think key among them is him saying, quote, "I am comfortable with taking a pause to see how the economy evolves." So, of course, the pause refers to rate cuts, saying further that apparently he thinks that the Fed, or I guess the U.S., is still in a restrictive posture as needed because the Fed did not cut too much last year. So Fed's Bostic saying we're still at a pretty restrictive place, but he's cool as of right now, taking a little bit of a pause to see where the economy goes from here. Back to you.
Here's now at 116, down 7%. SMCI is now down at 58. I know it's up 5.5. It doesn't matter that it's up 4%. You guys can see what's happening. It's an absolute bleed. We didn't have shorts on Rigetti, and I was not. I went over to D-Wave and it was not available, so I missed the opportunity to short that name because we didn't have free shorts on. I was just looking for something that is like squeezable that could roll over in this move that might head to the downside because it's looking very, very nasty. You're talking about why, Haroon? I just saw in the chat, why is SMCI falling? The best I can give you, there's still a deadline. I've heard no news. There's still a deadline for them to report. It simply broke trend. Palantir started losing the bid, and it could just be some kind of sympathy rinse where a lot of people are taking profit. Try to keep it in context. SMCI was doing, in hindsight, SMCI was doing this the last couple of days. You've just pulled back the morning. That's insane. Like, the acceleration happened right after we got out, so whatever. You don't know what's going to happen, but that's complete insanity there. It does feel like this is just like one of those like risk-off cascade type moments. So if something was high flying before, I think you'll want to take a shot at it. I just went over to JTAI for a quick second. That's already pulled back. There might still be a trade.
We're taking out day low, dude. Like this is like it was beelining for VWAP. Now it's straight up beelining for day low.
Nvidia's
if we take out day low, like it's right there. 56 is his day. 55.67 is day low on SMCI. We're trading just below 56 right now, and yeah, a lot of things are tanking here. Nvidia just gave up its VWAP. Palantir, yeah, obviously still going. That thing is like. Wow, I don't even know how to trade this. Like, do I just punch in, give it like a 3-point risk, and pray? But I don't know. This is absolutely wild. Like right here it is. Day low incoming here, just about a point away on SMCI. 57's trading as of right now. You guys can see how aggressive this tape is moving. And again, I turned to Neil. I'm like, somebody is hitting this bid really hard because we saw how it was trading earlier. Now we're getting 30 to 40, sometimes even 50 penny wipes into the bid here without too much of a bid kind of pulling us back up. But yeah, a little bit of a market move as well. Now following in, Spider starting to curl. Softy kind of still strong here. Nvidia is the one that's showing that selling pretty crazy. So yeah, Neil's asking the right question. Why are things not halted? There goes the day low on, well, not the day low, 56s, 55s on SMCI. What's up, Adara?
Fed Bostic is still talking, and as he continues to talk, we get a little bit of a pullback here in the market with some increasing volume. Basically, Fed Bostic saying that he wants to pay attention to the day-to-day balance sheet to make sure the drawdown doesn't go too far, but also specifically talking about January CPI, which we know is on watch. That was harder than expected, specifically on the core number, especially because we were expecting about, I think, a 3 or 4 year low. Fed Bostic saying that the January CPI might be a bump or a new trend, but regardless, as of right now, the fact that it was higher than expected reduces confidence in the Fed's 2025 outlook. And again, he is still warning here about how these policy changes could impact inflation, either for positive or for negative, guys. So Fed Bostic a little bit cautious about that January CPI as the market drops with volume.
Oh, Bostic's not helping anything at all. Now, my question about why nothing was halted, again, it doesn't, the halt bands are what they are, but there was one specific drop in SMCI that to me felt like it was going into the halt band, and it might have just wicked that low. I just feel like that's the wrong place to look for the bid. I think to look for the bid, I'd rather do it in something which is catching a stray as opposed to like the thing that is the reason that we're falling. There might even be one on your friend Intel, but I'm looking at 139 here on Nvidia. The market just got to VWAP for sure. Yeah, Palantir officially unburdened, anchored from earnings on PLTR. Apparently that's where it bounced. My eyeballs were on SMCI mostly. That was the stock that I was trading. So I probably wasn't looking at Palantir closely enough on a higher time frame because I wasn't really trading Palantir today. But that's why you put up anchors. If it really made that move, I think that's worth a shot. So you're getting a little bit of a curl here on Nvidia. I'd just rather look for something long that's not one of the stocks bleeding. It's actually 3:30 right now, so you really don't even have that much time left. I don't like punching a low, especially as we get into like power hour, at the end of power hour and toward the end of the session. Might see some imbalances, who knows, but the real story, CARP selling shares, SMCI reversion, drags everything to the downside. Even Tesla, which was strong, is now looking pretty weak. Tesla just broke 358, sorry, not 360, 358.
The bounce on SMCI is hilarious. I think, yeah, the prior low was 55.61. Guess where we go down to, Neil? 55.67 was that prior low of the opening range right here. I can pull it up here while I'm talking about it. And then we dropped down to 55.61. So 6 penny lick grab of the lows.
6 cents.
6 cents of the lows, and then ripping back up to 59s as of right now on SMCI. So absolutely wild. VWAP's at that 61 mark. Oh boy, what an opportunity. If you had it, you definitely printed on that one, and now we're catching a little bit of a bid once again here on the markets as well, alongside some of these tickers that had that catalyst.
Oh, Tesla
again,
right into prior low.
Whatever it is. Yeah. So Tesla breaking its consolidation lows as well. But there are some tickers still holding their own, Neil. Softy hasn't broken the bid just yet. Softy taking a bit of a curl here.
Let's go
through those. Yeah, Apple hasn't moved. Amazon, on the other hand, is continuing to make fresh highs. Oh boy. Oh boy. Look at that right here. So we'll go down to the 3-minute and take a look at some of these Mag 7s, see how they've reacted on this crazy sell-off that we had over the past few minutes here. Unfortunately, I was not involved, but you know what? Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking here as of right now. But yeah, Amazon relatively strong. And yeah, coming back into some of those prices from prior day here. So let's see if we get another strong close with only about less than 30 minutes left in the trading day. And oh boy, are we getting some volatility. So Nvidia, this was the one that was tanking along with the market here. And again, couldn't really get down to its day lows, but it did kind of clip this consolidation that we were doing all the way from 10:30 to about 12:30, so about a 2-hour consolidation. We kind of clipped that coming back into the range here, but this is what I want to show you guys. Softy strong to the upside here. Amazon was strong to the upside. Apple's not really doing anything, kind of just still consolidating above VWAP, holding within its opening range still. Pretty wide opening range to say the least, but yeah, that's definitely one that isn't reacting alongside with the market. Google as well. So a lot of the sell-off maybe just in terms of Mag 7, just driven by Tesla and Nvidia, it would seem. And another one, of course, Meta. Can't forget Meta. Meta's not really doing much either. Meta already sold off yesterday pretty aggressively, and today just still consolidating within its, I'd say maybe morning session range. I wouldn't say opening ranges. Opening ranges, we kind of already, actually no, we didn't. We are within opening range. Sorry, we did kind of break below that opening range off of the open there, only. And yeah, the Nasdaq as well.
Right off VWAP on the Nasdaq.
Right back up, 50% retracement roughly of that dump that we just had on the Nasdaq as well. So crazy kind of action. Hopefully you guys got a piece of that. Hopefully no one was stuck on the wrong side of that
Palantir's
trade.
dropping again.
Oh boy.
Might be abort the. If Palantir goes back to the low, this might be
Palantir 100.
Abort the reversion trade here. Yeah. So
no,
Palantir just broke
Catalyst
toward the low of the day again. So sorry, I sort of said this. I didn't want to interrupt Obi, but I was sort of saying Tesla right back into prior low at 358. There's the wick bottom. There's the reclaim of 358. Scalping out. But I just saw Palantir. Everything started when Palantir rolled over, and Palantir's right back to the low of the day. So when that's the case, all right, scalped another part out. We're going to move our stop to right underneath 358. So we're going to tighten the stop up here. That's the plan of action. I'm like, decide whether to get out or whether to tighten the stop. The decision is to tighten the stop on Tesla. And if we bounce on Palantir or this rally can continue, I'll give it a chance to get back up to 60 or VWAP. But the market's starting to come back in. So small scalp trade on Tesla because it got to a level. But look at Palantir. Now SSR again down 10% here. Carp selling shares. Everyone else joining. Looks like a little bit of a nasty one. If Palantir loses this, yeah, this is getting nuts here. You're losing like this. You're losing major support, also anchored from earnings, as pointed out multiple times. Officially, Unburied in the chat pointed that out recently as well. I think we might have another story or another update maybe with Adara. Oh, sorry, that's my bad. That was too early. Like I hear Adara call, but they're not actually ready for the throw. So all I've done is adjust my stop in Tesla. But if Palantir breaks a fresh low, I might decide to abort the trade manually if I see another cascade to the downside. For now, Palantir just bounced again. And that's the reason. I don't want to call it the reason, but it's the impetus behind a lot of this fall is Palantir move. Now let's go to Adara.
I'm not seeing a new story on this, but I do think it's worth noting here. I did take a deep dive here on X, and there's a lot of social media attention on this stock to be expected. We're seeing people weigh in on the price action, how far it'll drop. We're seeing some people expect that, as I mentioned earlier, this Pentagon catalyst could actually potentially be a positive for Palantir with regards to these cost spendings, because theoretically you might be able to use Palantir for less. Brian Shannon, a guest of our show, even weighing in on its anchored VWAP. So PLTR, very heavily discussed on social media right now and very volatile. Be cautious. I just wanted to provide that update. Also, stay tuned for the market recap tonight with Neil and I. You can check that out at 4 p.m. Eastern. Carvana is one of the names reporting, and we just dropped this graphic here on X, TTV Research. This is Carvana's very wild, I guess, stock price journey with the backdrop of its revenue. You can check this out on X ahead of CVNA earnings, guys. Back to you.
And we're going right into the free opportunity, and that's e-signal, everybody. So traders, listen up. The first month is free. That's right. They're waiving fees so you can trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience where you will be able to have indicators and boards and customizable charts that will help you find moves like the crazy one in Palantir right now. You know what's going to be the top of my trade rate board. 100% is Palantir and SMCI. Reliable data. If the market is open, your data is going to be live on eSignal across many markets with every gateway available. You have the imbalance locator. You can have good screeners, pretty much everything at your fingertips, all in one spot. Highly customizable. We talked about the tick replays. You can go over to level 2 if you want and see what was happening when Palantir broke that low or SMCI broke that trend. Those are the types of things you have available at your fingertips. Everything in one place. Execute your best trades now. Scan the QR code in front of you. Click the link in the description and don't waste a second. Shout out to eSignal. These trades. So I had left an order on Nvidia. So you might have seen me just get in. I immediately punched out. It bounced 3 cents. So I made 3 pennies on Nvidia. That was an accidental fill. When this made the wick, I tried punching long on the way back up. I missed, and I didn't cancel the order. So on the way back down, I got filled. I just got out right away. Probably a good thing because we're still going lower. Tesla, which we had gone into this reversion trade, Palantir has reverted back to the low. I said I could manually abort if that happens. So I am going to manually abort, and I didn't even cross far enough there. So let's just actually hit the bid. Forget about trying to get the offer. Let's just punch out. If we can get even a couple of cents on that. There was a decent bounce. I mean, from the bottom wick, you got $2 on Tesla. But from my entry, at absolute best, you would have made 90 cents to $1. And even then, the way things are starting to bleed now, like look at Palantir. Now 111, it just tagged another fresh low. Is this really going to break $111? It's SSR, and it's going to break the low of the day. So pretty nasty. Rich Irvin mentioning, oh, I forgot about HIMS. That was probably a high flyer you could have shorted. Yeah, it's not doing that good. No. In the back of my mind, the first thing, when I saw both Palantir and SMCI flush, my first thought was anything with a big PE or a big recent run might be a casualty in a move like this. And if you can catch it getting a sympathy push to the downside, you should. Obviously, this doesn't age well, but SMCI is actually holding up better than Palantir. The bounce off the prior low is actually holding up pretty nicely on SMCI. That said, it's not all roses everywhere will be. That is, you don't see that anywhere. Like what'll happen is you watch other places and they'll be like, hey, Palantir had this move 3 hours ago because of, or they'll say something like, SMCI traded 5% higher on the day today due to blah, 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 blah. And anyone that was trading is like, oh, it traded 5% higher, huh? Yeah, that's not exactly how the day played out, everybody. But that's the trading show. Trading show, and we're going to be live with you as things are happening. Even we can get surprised.
Yes.
Obviously, as you can see here,
I'm definitely
on SMCI.
I'm definitely awestruck here. I'm just like, all right, well, like, what am I going to do? But what I am going to do is sit here and watch the tape because I think well, one, it's fun, but two, there's definitely a lot of learning going on here. Some panic selling, and yeah, I heard Adara talk about Brian Shannon's post about Palantir, and yeah, I have that same anchored. So shout out to Mr. Brian Shannon there. This earnings anchored, you can see the pink right there, comes right into that. So maybe that's where it's looking for the next spot for liquidity. Just slam right down into anchored VWAP from earnings, kind of showing us that maybe it's a potentially a key level there. But then again, PLTR is like Neil suggested, is now SSR, and if people are hitting the bid on this ticker, oh boy. Been running up for quite a while. We can see what it's been doing on the weekly chart as well. Let me take off some of these indicators so we can get a better look at that one here on Palantir. Yeah, so you can see that we haven't really broken this prior week since about the middle of January. So it's been about a month roughly since then. And prior month low currently sits at 108.72s. 108.72s, and today's low, we're hitting 110.46s. So almost there, just not there just yet. But again, very, very strong ticker, and we accelerated. We gapped up pretty aggressively off of earnings, right? So that was some very strong action, and let's see if we get some a similar magnitude of selling coming back in, well within trend it would seem, but a parabolic nonetheless here on Palantir. Absolutely crazy. And there is my alarm. Hello, The Weeknd. It is time for imbalances very soon. So The Weeknd, great artist. I absolutely love The Weeknd. He's got some new music. Some good stuff. But yeah, the classic Weeknd. Yeah, his come up story absolutely solid as well. He used to he used to be a homeless guy here in Toronto. And then now he's The Weeknd. Yeah, he was homeless for a little bit. Yeah, and he has a beautiful song called Sidewalks where he kind of talks about sidewalks changing my life.
True that.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Really good. He's definitely a legend.
There are it's like 7 minutes till the imbalances, but you want to make sure that your alert's going to be not like 2 seconds before the imbalances drop.
No,
I don't know how big of a deal.
I told you the story behind it, right?
Actually, you didn't. Just before we do that, NU has an early look of 4.6 million sell. HIMS, 3 million buy. So those are a couple of relatively large, Snapchat 1.9 million to sell, but I'd say these two are relatively large imbalances. 3 million on HIMS is not chump change. I know it's done 52 million in volume, but that is a really large expected buy imbalance so far on HIMS. We should pay attention to that. But Obi, I want to make sure I got that and just showed you guys the early look before we finished that story. So I don't know the story. I guess I'm assuming you actually missed an imbalance, an important one, and therefore you now set an alarm, which is a smart thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think I mentioned yesterday. There's been a couple times where it was around that imbalance time. I was in the kitchen or maybe I was in the bathroom, not really paying attention. A little lost in the sauce. I haven't said that one in a while. But I think when I realized that, I was like, what's a quick fix to this problem? Throw on an alarm at 42. Telling you that imbalances are nearby, so whatever you're doing, wrap it up and get to your desks because there could be a potential opportunity at hand. And some of those numbers definitely interesting here. HIMS, new, HAL as well. Some of these early look numbers definitely coming in and looking a little attractive. You like HIMS better or NU a little bit better here?
Well, HIMS has so much volatility today. My gut leans toward that. I'm just double checking to see if there's anything on our information for ads or deletes or anything. Because when you see big imbalances, I'm usually curious. I see NU has had imbalances before. There was one day it was getting upweighted, and it was a big trade opportunity for anybody out there. Nothing today. So HIMS 3 million, the buy side. NU 4.6 million to the sell side. I showed you the chart of HIMS. I did not pull up NU. It's a cheaper stock. It's only $13. Not really moving all that much, which is why I leaned over to maybe tracking HIMS.
Is Palantir?
Palantir is not halted.
It's not halted. Oh,
so HIMS will watch going into the imbalances, but really the story, Palantir is still at these lows. Now 11% to the downside. It's comical that breakout on 125 seems like forever ago. And if you're one of the casualties, SMCI managed to bounce off the low, still going to be green on the day. And it doesn't seem like it's as weak. Actually, the stock that I was kind of hoping, and it was shout out in the chat, was being mentioned as a sympathy play for BBAI, which is, people have called it the baby Palantir, but it hasn't broken the low yet. I was going to break out the low if Palantir broke the low, but I'm starting to think with 4 minutes to go, you get 5 cents of risk, 7 cents of risk to short it now. So Palantir continues to go lower. I'm just going to hit 83, and I'm going to set a stop at the prior high. Yeah. And if we bleed, we bleed, and we'll risk 7 cents to see if we can get something on this one. But Palantir is the story.
Yeah, definitely.
Palantir is the story.
Back-to-back sell.
BBI is just a baby Palantir. At least that's what they've been called. It was already down on the day, but now 109 on Palantir. No one ever went broke taking profit, long or short. This bleed is now, it's now gotten out of hand. 12% to the downside. Anchored VWAP is gone. So as far as I'm concerned, you don't really have much on the higher time frame except for some even dollar levels there on PLTR. So it's still looking weak. Someone said, why not short SMCI? That's actually bouncing right now. So SMCI is doing not too bad. I think relatively speaking, it's holding some higher lows as we speak. But that BBAI, again, it's like other people. I'm not calling it a baby Palantir. Other people have called it baby Palantir. So if it just pushes into the low of the day, that's kind of like a low-hanging fruit type of trade. With only 3 minutes to go to the imbalances, always really careful around this time. It's got to be a really tight setup if I'm going to take it.
Yeah, no, we were talking about breaking prior week low on Palantir. We're testing that prior week low right now. This is prior Monday right here. You can see that low being exactly 108.72, and the current low is 108.81. So just roughly about 11 pennies shy of that low there on Palantir. So absolutely crazy kind of move there. And yeah, we were looking at the weekly just before, and this would be the first break of a prior bar weekly here since about the middle of January. But again, a little bit of a strong trend. We've done that before in the past, but again, post earnings, we are taking, this is the first kind of a strong pullback post earnings that Palantir is having. And yeah, definitely holding up on to its earnings anchored as well. That's this, is it this? Okay, yeah, no, it's this one right here. So we're trading below it now. We're trading below it. It's at 111.53s is that anchored from earnings. We're trading 109s. And again, 108.70s is that prior week low. So definitely a lot of selling. Again, we talk about SSR names. We literally mentioned this in the morning. What kind of participant can hit the bid on an SSR stock?
You know what this means.
People who are longs. So that's some real selling as of right now.
You know what this means tomorrow. Palantir's SSR tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Continuation play.
Oh boy.
So the short sell restricted rule means the uptick is in effect, as Obi was explaining, not just for today because it's down 10%, but tomorrow too on Palantir. Tomorrow, Palantir is going to be SSR. What a day. Brett Favre is going to be on the show. Palantir is going to be SSR. And a whole lot of other stuff that you probably didn't expect to happen is going to happen because that's how the market works and that's how the market rolls. It is fresh lows on PLTR. And as I said, it really is a story. It's not as if, with only a minute to go to the imbalances, it's not as if this bleed is everywhere. The Qs are at VWAP. And it already bounced once, right? Like I know we're red on the day in the Nasdaq, but you're at VWAP. It's not the end of the world in the Nasdaq. The SPY as well. I'm just going to do it this way instead of looking at the futures chart. Just want to show you guys on like a 3-minute. The SPY well above VWAP and still green. This is a very specific trade. I would have thought maybe you'd get a little bit more out of BBAI kind of when it broke back down. It did get filled at 75 there, but you're not breaking the low. It was kind of a sympathy look here at a Palantir. It's got support of its own down here as well on the daily. But as far as I'm concerned, like a reversion, if you get continuation in Palantir tomorrow, I'd be actually shocked if this didn't break down. Not doing much as we speak, but with this flush, you got to expect that this could make a move tomorrow. It's going to be in play tomorrow regardless, I think, on BBAI. Tesla, it turns out it was fine to take that long. There's a saying that I never used, but I know somebody that did, and it said, if abort the short, the long can't be wrong, and the vice versa of that would have been, hey, the second you think it's no longer a short, your long should be good. But when I saw the future looking like they were about to break down, I saw Palantir make a fresh low. I'm like, you know what? It looked like it was rolling over. Let's just get out of the trade and not fight that trend, and let's try to work with it. Ultimately, the wrong call on Tesla. We could have held on to that one and done better than like a 60-cent overall trade on Tesla. A bit of a missed opportunity, but in the moment, it's going to happen. The imbalances dropped, and NU and HIMS are pretty much not there. We expected 4.6 and 3. When we come out, you got Cliff at 1.3 million, nothing burger. Intel at 980,000, nothing burger, and pretty much VICI also going to be there. So kind of a nothing burger on the imbalances, despite expecting some big ones out of NU and HIMS. BBAI, as I said, the best fill we got is 75s. I might just get out of this if we can get like 86.5. Just get out of the rest of it. It's not bleeding down into the bottom. We're able to get a few legs out there to get 2/3 out. But if it's not going to go, then I'm just going to jump out. This was a sympathy play on Palantir that I thought could break the low because Palantir did. Well, Palantir is about to put in its second green candle, so we might as well just get the you-know-what out of Dodge. So it took like a low-hanging fruit sympathy play, no breakdown, but I feel like if this loses a bid tomorrow and Palantir continues this flush, could be a nasty, nasty day.
Yeah, I think definitely right off of Power Hour, we got some in-play names for tomorrow. I think that's a good blessing there. And coming into tomorrow, I know I'll definitely be watching some SMCI and some Palantir, looking for that continuation. Again, strong selling on Palantir. First day of some strong selling after a long time of strong bids to the upside there. Let's see if we get that. Again, SSR tomorrow, maybe we do get a bounce, maybe we get a reversion. This is quite an aggressive move. Slightly, is it outlier? Yes, a little bit, but again, catalyst driven. So what do I know? And yeah, absolutely crazy flush to the downside here. I'm just watching the tape on SMCI. Intel kind of gave me, because I was like, oh, I wanted to short in and around 26s, because I'm like, well, this looks like there's a little bit of supply here at that 26s, and maybe getting a little too hasty, a little too early on here. But I did well to manage my risk, kind of not getting chopped up too much. Finally kind of comes in, grabs the high, and then it gives us that flush along with the market. That's what I was looking for. Again, not really looking for it to crack day low like everything else, but I can see that it's making higher lows just to get in for a potential higher low here, maybe in the 50s, in the 60s and the 70s. I was willing to accept the 80s as well, because I'm trying to short 26s, risk about 10 pennies, and take off about 15 to 20 as well. Again, off of an area that I think or deem as holding a little bit of supply. But that 26 area continues to hold as a bit of a resistance here, and VWAP as well, a little bit of confluence with that VWAP coming in with that. So yeah, eyes on a few different things. Why don't you guys throw up in the chat what you guys are looking at for tomorrow?
Palantir.
Right? I know Palantir and SMCI are going to be some of the top ones, but I want to know what you guys are looking at. I'm going to be doing some of my journaling and some of my scans for tonight as well. And yeah, that's oh wait, no, I also shout out to my sister. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Obi's sister.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
There you go. See, you remembered, man.
I remembered.
The key is to do it at the end of the show as well.
Yeah. So happy birthday. Love you. I'll see you guys for dinner once I get back home.
Older, younger sister?
Younger sister. I am the oldest.
Has
its perks. Being the oldest sibling definitely has its perks.
Being the younger sibling has perks.
Oh, that definitely has perks. Trust me.
I'm just saying.
It's so funny, kind of watching them grow up. I'm like, my mom would have beat me for that. And then the youngest sister gets away with so much. You're just like, and then you look at your parents like, what? You're not gonna say anything? You're not gonna say anything?
It wasn't
I'm
like
like, if I ever said that, I'm
like,
I'm probably not having dinner. I'm getting sent to my room. Maybe I'm getting, the slipper or something thrown at me. I'm just like, but it's funny to see that. And at the end of the day, you got to remember that when it comes to raising a kid, it was my parents' first time when it was with me. And obviously, I definitely softened like a lot of things. I was definitely, trailblazed a lot of things. So it makes sense why they're a lot softer. And again, I think that parents can be a lot softer on their daughters than they are their sons as well.
Well, I'm pretty sure you were a heck of a big brother. I think we can all tell that for sure. But the shoe throwing, it's so true. I was the younger sibling. My mom's didn't ease up because I was the younger sibling. Although I will say this, with only 4 minutes to go, not much on the imbalance to flip, so there wasn't really much to look at.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
My older brother was incredibly patient. Unbelievable.
I have learned patience.
So patient.
Along the years. I was not a patient
horrible
child.
younger brother.
Yeah.
I don't find myself to be an attention seeker, but 100% when we were younger, if I wanted us to be doing something, I'm like, and he wasn't for it, like I would just basically do whatever. And he was so kind. He could whoop my butt. He was bigger than me. He could do all that stuff, and he just wouldn't do it. And he was so incredibly kind. I'm just like, and my mom would even say, it's like, you're bigger than him. Why are you always, all the time? And I'm like, I cannot believe how patient was. I get a feeling that you might be that kind of a patient older brother as well, Obi.
Yeah,
but
I've developed that patience over a very long time.
I can tell.
Yeah, no. So younger siblings can definitely be very testing, let's say that. And I guess I'm thankful for that, because it's helped me build a lot of patience.
Which is important.
On that. So anyways, back to the market here. SMCI giving us a reversion back into VWAP here. So pretty much a lick grab of day low by 6 pennies. Absolutely crazy. What a snipe that was if you were sitting there, if you saw the rebid, because people are chasing the low day break. We've heard legends of algos that kind of counter that trade as well. So definitely some of those algos laughing straight to the bank. And nice, beautiful hold there. Nice reversion happening here to VWAP on an aggressive sell on SMCI. A little bit of a bid happening here on Palantir as well. We kind of talked about that prior low. We did kind of clip some of that prior week low, but now we're trading right back up into that anchored VWAP from earnings again, which is sitting in and around that 111.5 mark here on Palantir. But yeah, definitely going to be one to watch. Some of these consolidations might be interesting for tomorrow because this is where price couldn't really get back above. So these price right here, 115, classic. So 115 is going to be interesting coming into tomorrow as well. So
before I get up to the desk, we got the aftermarket show. Obviously, things just got a whole lot more interesting than Carvana earnings, let's just say, because there's a lot to go over.
Oh yeah,
you never know. We got Carvana is the big name reporting. Tomorrow morning we get Alibaba. But I think I speak for a few people. At some point, like I don't think anybody pictures Obi as the kind of kid that needed to have the slipper thrown. So there's clearly a story that we need to hear at some point. I'm not
definitely was.
Okay, and I'm just saying at some point we'd all like to hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking for everybody here because I'm pretty sure. But Palantir actually bouncing at $3 to the upside after what was a crazy move to the downside. Great day today, Obi. Appreciate you. It was a heck of a lot of fun. And happy birthday to Obi's younger sister.
Yeah, I'll make sure to send her. I don't know if she's probably working on some stuff.
Send her the clip.
Yeah,
you literally just said happy birthday live. You send it, be like I did on you. And now you've just caught me taking this earpiece off to go.
But yeah, I'll figure that out. But yeah, thank you, Neil, for another great trading day here, and yeah, solid opportunity in this market. Absolutely wild here. Yeah, some of these imbalances not really looking too crazy here. A lot of stuff just pairing off. I see that HIMS is still on here. HIMS not really doing too much as it kind of just chops within its range on that imbalance. But yeah, hopefully you guys had a awesome trading day. Whether you're red or green, hopefully we followed some processes. Hopefully we looked at our trades and our actions for today, and try to identify things we can do a little bit better for tomorrow, so we can always try to be that 1% better. Market taking a little bit of a bid going into the close here again, and yeah, absolutely solid day. I don't have anything else to say other than on watch for tomorrow, SMCI, on watch for tomorrow, Palantir, maybe some Intel too. I think I might be getting a little too attached to Intel, but yeah, Intel's coming in quite nice. That 25 over/under still kind of stands. Tesla 350 is going to be interesting as well. So that one's going to be on watch. And some of the earnings names as well. Neil just mentioned Carvana. So I got to go. I off the top of my head, I don't know what they necessarily are, but Carvana reporting tomorrow. So that's going to be go to 1, 5, 4, 3, 2. And 1. Thank you, Adara, for that one. And yeah, shout out to my sister once again. Happy birthday. And yeah, we kind of funny enough. We started this morning talking about gold and how gold is at all-time highs. I got to go talk to her about that, because I know recently she definitely purchased or she definitely got a decent amount of gold over the past couple of years. If you guys know anything about Indian weddings, there might be a little bit of gold involved there. So I don't think she knows what the price of gold is just yet. But anyways, I'm gonna stop ranting about that. I will see you guys tomorrow. It's gonna be me and Sharif on the desk. Sean's hopefully back tomorrow. Be sure to check in with us. We got Neil and Dara at the big desk with the market recap. Take it easy, guys. See ya.
What in the carp was that, everybody? Alex, oh my goodness. Palantir down 9.9%, and it's actually bounced. What an unbelievably crazy day. Well, this is the thing about the markets. You never know. Like, I expected, okay, we have Carvana earnings. We're going to talk about the iPhone release. Who cares? iPhones, yeah, whatever.
iPhone, schmyphone.
iPhone, there it is, Adara. That's what I was, iPhone, schmyphone. The market recap is probably going to talk a lot about SMCI and Palantir. You had some crazy runners in the middle of the day with the quantum names were running. Can't even hold together with that crazy move to the downside. But as I said, we are expecting a few earnings names. We do have, if you're into it and you happen to like Toast, then that one is going to be reporting, I think, first. Toast is reporting at 405, although I actually just saw it move around a little bit here. 7% short float, there could be something there. CVNA, Carvana is, I think, the most likely big mover. Expected move of 14% on Carvana. We're expecting them at 410, 19% the last time. You've also got a pretty, usually decent move in Cheesecake Factory, which is at 415, which I just talked to Adara and admitted something. I have never in my life eaten from Cheesecake Factory. I've heard it's so good, and you know I got a sweet tooth and love pastries. It is a very good chance that, really good chances I need to rectify that at some point. But everything, I think, Adara, before we get any earnings coming out, begins and ends, not ends, but begins with what we saw rolling over in Palantir. Now, granted, on the higher time frame, it's still an obvious rocket ship. We had our good friend Ryan Shannon pointing out that initially you would bounce off the anchored VWAP from earnings. It actually managed to, it was about 110-ish. It was actually able to close and hold above that, where it still is now. It doesn't look like much, but at some point, profit taking was going to come into this. Palantir already had an 84 to 63 pullback before this latest earnings run. It already had a 25% pullback. It has done this before. If you go back into the middle of last year, Palantir had a 30 to 21 pullback. That is a 30% pullback. So if you get anything in that range from these highs, we are talking about $90 to $100 for a reasonable pullback that it's done twice in the last year. So you've got to put things into perspective with this selling. It's extreme because it's 10% in the way in which it started today, but in the grand scheme of things, it's done it a couple times before. It's got a pretty big valuation, obviously. There's a heck of a lot that could still happen. When times like this occur, my thought goes to the 50 or the 200 period moving average. I don't think that's as likely. I feel like that 90 to 100 area could be more of a thing. But just sort of seeing, okay, Carvana's moving.
I'm not seeing the earnings yet.
Yeah, we're not seeing earnings on Carvana, but it did just move. So I just saw it as well. I see everyone talking about it. It just ran to 310. It was a $30 move in Carvana and right back in to 280. So you're pulling back on CVNA. I don't see the report out for Carvana. Obviously a 9% short flow. You can't talk about stocks and fundamentals and P ratios and not acknowledge the fact that Carvana, to a certain extent, is also detached from any reality when it comes to their actual performance. So suffice to say, after what we saw with Palantir, there's a lot at stake here for Carvana. I feel it's a bad time necessarily to have this kind of a company report tonight, because anything bad, and I feel like you're going to get a dump here based on what we saw in Palantir for some catch and strays, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Well, yeah, and I think some people in the chat were saying too. I was trying to find more info on it, but the Barron's article is behind a paywall. I need to do more research, but apparently, Carp actually altered his plan to be selling less shares. Again, I need to do more research, but I think that's pretty interesting and not necessarily as bearish as it would necessarily first appear. Also, it's pretty funny. We've got Cheesecake Factory coming out here with earnings. You know, shout out to the iconic Drake line from Child's Play. Why you got to fight with me, Cheesecake? You know, I love to go there. But another weirdly Drake song related company reporting tonight too, Churchill Downs. Shout out to the song Churchill Downs with Drake and Jack Harlow. It's not stock related at all, but it's hilarious that two very obvious Drake song lyric related companies are reporting on the same night. Stuff that's probably only interesting to me. But yeah, do we have Chris Bretcher today as well? No, okay. I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing Carvana. I'm not seeing Cake. I'm not seeing. I like also that we have Cake and Toast on the same night. That's what I call confluence. Toast actually just came out here though, so we'll go over that. Apparently, Q4 net income $33 million. Okay, annual run rate up 34% year over year. I want to see where this revenue is at. Come on, Toast, help me out.
You know what you want to say. The shorts are toast right now.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to find these numbers here first, Neil. Then I'll make all the puns. But yeah, I'm still looking through here. Once I see any revenue, I will let you guys know.
Yeah, 10% up on toast, 7% short float here. So 1 for 1, I suppose. And just I saw some people in the chat that like, I can't believe we're comparing Carvana's PE to Palantir. Not even close to the point I was making. Palantir, if you say that's overpriced, then CVNA, disconnection with reality, is on a different level. So if Palantir were to sell off, I think you get some bleeding over into something like on any week in CVNA. That's all I was getting at. They're not the same company. They're not even remotely the same thing. I'm not here to tell you CVNA is a good investment. The stock is what it is. Toast now starting to pull back. So I don't see the numbers either, Adara. I'm not actually seeing any.
I have like the report out, but the way they organize the report, like guys, put revenue first. Why is your annual recurring run rate first? Why is your net income first? Like, I do not. The organization of this report, especially when you're trying to go through it quickly, is suboptimal. But I'll tell you guys the numbers I am seeing again. ARR here, annual recurring run rate, up 34% year over year. Total locations apparently up 26% year over year. Gross payment volume, GPV, up 25% year over year. That's all for Q4 2024. Their Gap subscription services and fintech solutions gross profit up 40% year over year. Non-Gap subscriptions, 39% year over year. I mean, they're up year over year. That's really the deal here. But again, I am not seeing revenue. Certain companies emphasize different metrics, but usually we look for revenue, which I have not seen yet for TOSD, and I've gone through the highlights of the report.
And worth noting, see it pulling back off that 44. 52-week highs was right here at that 44 top. So clearly toast, when it did that push upside, it goes right into prior resistance, and then you get the dip on toast, and now all of a sudden, well, anyone that bought the top is toast. It just broke the lows underneath 40 and still falling. So right into first resistance and now underneath support and continuing to head to the downside. We're expecting Carvana at 410, so a couple of minutes and we likely get some fireworks in that name, just double checking. It did have maybe somebody fat fingered, maybe somebody got ahead of themselves. Carvana did pop $30 and then come right back in. Just to remind everybody, with toast, it went into highs and just pulled back. With Carvana, it's already broken out highs. And as I was saying before, don't at me. I'm not trying to rip on the stock or anything, but if you think that this makes sense on Carvana, I've got some magic beans I would like to sell you. And then I'll use those magic beans and donate them to the Toronto Blue Jays, the money I get from them to the Toronto Blue Jays so we can play Vladimir Guerrero. But Carvana is running a little bit hot going into these earnings. A lot is going to be at stake. For sure. So we'll see what happens here with Carvana. It's not out just yet. Not really sure. We're going to get it hopefully in 1 minute or so. But to go back to what was going on here with Palantir, the context, when it started rolling over, there were some strays that got caught. SMCI was doing rather well, and then it rolled over heavily. Decent rebound for SMCI, but this was cruising today on a reversal, ended up breaking pretty much everything, goes into the low, and then a little bit of a bouncer on SMCI. So while it'll look fine, a daily chart still looks good for SMCI. In the back of your mind, you got to think about what just happened up here at 64. Less than a week to go for the deadline on SMCI to report their earnings. So Carvana, any minute now, we are expecting to see what is going to happen. And you're right, Austin, all this selling is always pre-planned. Any CEO, any officer, they've got to report these things much earlier. And the other thing to keep in mind, if he actually reduced it, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I would have thought the defense spending issue, there's Carvana, must be out. Carvana dropping to the downside as we speak. I'll finish that thought in a second, but you're seeing Carvana, not a huge drop, 280 to about 270. Don't get trapped fat fingering in before earnings are out, everybody. Make sure the report's out, or just don't trade it at all because it's dangerous. Carvana right now only down a few points, now heading down to 260. You're getting a bit of a drop here. It's not cataclysmic or anything like that. Like really, from the 300 level, you've only pulled back about like 10% or so. But I don't have the numbers yet either, Adara. But we have some numbers from Carvana. Slight move down, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I have toast too. They beat on sales, 1.34 bill versus 1.31 bill expected. They missed on earnings per share, 5 cents versus 7 cents expected. Lots of questions in the chat. I will try to get to all of them, but right now I'm going to focus here on Carvana, another company much like Toast that did not want to put their revenue front and center. That's cool. Apparently in the fiscal year, which they kind of emphasized here, their 2024 numbers, so I'll read those. Carvana here in fiscal 2024 apparently had a 33% year-over-year increase in, okay, so here we have total annual revenue of $13.67 billion. That is up 27% year-over-year. I also believe it's above estimates for the fiscal year. Full year net income apparently hit a record of $404 million, net income margin of 3.0%. Apparently their full year adjusted EBITDA, $1.378 billion. But yeah, for the highlights here, for Q4, we're up 50% year over year for total retail units to get a revenue of $3.55 billion, which is a beat over estimates of $3.33 billion. Apparently, much like what we had the record fiscal year net income, we also had record Q4 net income here, Neil, of $159 million, and apparently record adjusted EBITDA and adjusted EBITDA margin here for Q4. So record net income for the fiscal quarter and the fiscal year, up 50% year over year for retail units for Q4 and about 30% for the year, and then revenue also up both year over year for fiscal year and for fiscal quarter. Sorry, guys, just trying to interpret all of these right in front of me. Someone was asking about Klaviyo as well, K-Y-V-O, or K-V-Y-O. I always get that ticker confused. So Klaviyo, this is actually a solid report here. So K-Y-V-O, pushing a little bit higher here. Q4 adjusted earnings of 7 cents versus 6 cents expected. That would be a beat. 270.164 mil versus 257.247 mil expected for sales. Also a beat. Q1 revenue, they're guiding above estimates. They're also guiding fiscal 2025 revenue above estimates. So great guidance across the board and beat for EPS and sales for our friend Klaviyo. Fun fact, the second IPO that I witnessed on this floor.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, ARM was the first.
ARM was a good one. ARM, a big IPO. Klaviyo looking pretty strong, relatively speaking. Keep in mind, 11% short float on Klaviyo. The other thing that you've got going with this, and this is not to, just to quickly switch gears, one of the cooler trades that I know a lot of swing traders will look at specifically on IPOs, when you get this action, company comes out, that's the high point, it gets the sell-off. The retake of the IPO high, generally speaking, is a popular breakout trade. Not the cleanest on Klaviyo, but it did actually hold up pretty well. And if you took it when it broke that high, it never went more than 10% against, even on a pullback, and now you're racing. So it's one thing to watch. A lot of times you'll get that sell event and then a bit of a pullback when it reclaims that prior high. Kind of one of those good entry spots. ARM had something like this. Off the top of my head, Kava had a great one as well. And shout out to everyone in the chat that's mentioning Grab. Now, I had two separate sources. One said Grab was tomorrow morning, and another one said it was tonight. I'm expecting a couple of people in the chat saying it's supposed to be tonight. It's not moving yet. If we get any earnings on Grab, we'll let you guys know in real time, of course. That's how we do it around here. But now right back in...
Obi in the chat, grab that.
Grab that.
This is not shocking from the man who's always talking about slapping the ask.
Obi. He's supposed to be, you're an older brother. It's your little sister's birthday.
He looks so guilty though, Neil. Look how obviously not at all proud of himself he is. Oh.
I just like to have fun with my stonks, that's all.
I can't hate on that, Obi. I can't hate on that one.
Oh boy.
You know what? You know what Obi's doing right now? He's going over his trades, he's going over his playbook, he's going over his execution, he's watching the action because traders stay late. That's what it's all about. You can do it in your station, you can do it with us, you can do it in front of the train. You can watch Carvana fall now down 7 points, heading down to the low of the day at 260. Still heading to the downside. It hasn't broken the low yet on Carvana, but it's looking a little bit weak. Cheesecake Factory is out. Not a huge move. It bounced about $1, now right back in, but the numbers are out for Cheesecake Factory.
It looks like they did beat here on revenue. Again, I always like to say looks like because the estimates I have are not always the estimates that we go off of. I was seeing estimates here of 912.17 million for revenue. They reported 921. So that's a beat here. It's also up from 877 on a year-over-year basis. Apparently, 83 cents per share was their net income. We were looking for 92, so that is a little bit of a miss here. But again, I always like to take some of these estimates with a grain of salt until we have more information. I'm trying to see anything else here from there was the main things there for Cheesecake. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily want to fight Cheesecake right now. I don't necessarily love to go there, but we're going to have to wait and see where this one goes for price action. I had to make the Drake joke again. Yes. Love to see where this price action goes. There's some clear resistance here at the end of the day at that 55.10 level. If this is spready, I might give it a look tomorrow. But Carvana, someone was asking about guidance. I believe it was Scott Tomlinson in the chat. I was not seeing anything with regards to guidance. IMAX apparently reported earnings. I don't know if that's necessarily a mover, but yeah, Carvana. Okay, here we go. Carvana did beat there on EPS and sales. Like I said, it was above the estimates I had.
They got higher? Is that?
I'm not seeing the guide yet.
Okay, we haven't seen
56 cents versus 21 expected for EPS. Sales 3.55 bill versus 3.31 bill expected. So nice little beat here for CVNA. They did actually have a short report. I believe it was one of Hindenburg Research's last short reports ever with regards to their accounting. I have not seen their guidance yet here for CVNA, but we also had a graphic for CVNA and TTV Research that you can check out here.
Boom.
This is a little car driving up and down. Carvana is very wild. This is its stock price at the year end for each of these years. Annual revenue, generally a growth story. This was just the estimated revenue for 2024, which I believe they actually beat. So shout out to Carvana. But yeah, this is take a look at this on X at TTV Research. I also just released a fun Uncle Warren-related graphic there too. So check that out. If anyone has any more questions about earnings, I will do my best to put them for you in the chat.
And that's sort of the scary thing about it. When you look at that, not a heck of a lot of move in that annual revenue. When you look at the weekly chart, like it's already made that move. If they're not actually, so from the time that it went from $360 to basically zero, and they're more or less doing the same on revenue as they were then, like, yeah, would you buy up here? I mean, I wouldn't, but whatever. Stocks are going to move how they're going to move. As a trader, I'd play it in either direction tomorrow, whatever it's willing to do. It just feels like after what we saw at the close, like, don't you think there's going to be some nervous hands tomorrow morning after what we saw in the close in a few names? And what would you do if you had nervous hands in a stock like Palantir on the brain, on Carvana, as it just came back failing underneath the high? I don't know. If it head and shoulders this, if it holds under 270, it feels like it's a short to me. For sure, Cake a little bit of a dub, but I'd still love to have it.
Did you see
Joseph
just kept putting
there
in the chat? He was just cake.
Of course he did. Of course we did. Come on, Obi, we got you. We got you. Obi just having fun, or as someone put it in the chat, someone suspected that you aren't going over your playbook, and maybe you're shopping for gifts. Maybe you're shopping for gifts for your sister right now online, yo, that's legit, dude.
That's some good sibling stuff.
Obi, shout out to Obi. He just told us that he bought his younger sister her birthday gift and got it to her midnight last night. That is a true, I mean, you're a great sibling. I can tell you right now, I love you, Len, but absolutely never have I been that on point in making sure that you get your gift. You get a gift, but I mean, I don't know if I've ever been that dedicated. See, everyone here, you know Obi's a softie. Everybody out here knows Obi is a softie. You can just sort of tell. He was one of those, yeah, he's that like great older sibling. Which is probably a really good influence, protecting his younger sister. I can just see it all in there. Don't get all mushy or whatever, because we should be talking about the bleed in Carvana or something else
also,
there.
Also, Cheesecake Factory, I have the actual numbers.
Oh, we do? Let's get
it was basically in line with the estimates I had here. But I guess their adjusted earnings per share did beat. As I said, they're non-adjusted missed estimates, but they're adjusted beat estimates. That's why I always like to be careful until I see the Benzinga numbers, which sometimes even can be a little bit incorrect because everyone has different estimates, but this is showing a beat here for Cheesecake Factory for adjusted EPS, $1.04 versus 92 cents expected. Sales, 920.96 mil versus 912.32 mil expected. And I want to clarify here, when I say, earnings may or may not be accurate, a lot of it has to do with different metrics because certain companies care more about different metrics than others. We know with Reddit, they had a great report, but they dropped on that miss for daily active users.
Yes.
So I think that's really important to note. If we say, the earnings were wrong, the estimates were different, it's because it's such a subjective practice. And sometimes the estimates will be a couple million or a couple decimal points off from something else, right? So I always like to be very cautious. Doesn't mean the numbers are wrong or that they're not properly researched. It just means that it's a whole quagmire of factors. And so I always like to provide a little bit of cushioning until we know for sure.
Giggity, giggity, giggity. Great. Quagmire?
Oh, okay, Family Guy. Okay.
If I have to say it, that means it sucked, which is on me. You guys can do the wah, wah, wah. Oh. Thank you, Fabian. That was dead on. Or that one. Either one of them worked. Quagmire was a funny character, which is weird because there's obviously so much wrong with Quagmire, but that's the whole point. You got to push boundaries in comedy. Just to go back, I know we had a lot of earnings, but just to recap a few things. If you're only tuning in right now, obviously, Carvana earnings, big deal, but let's try to respect what was happening at the end of the day and what you might have to look forward to tomorrow with that rundown in Palantir. An expected sale announced by Alex Karp. You had also talk of cuts with the defense budget, which at first read, I did the same thing I think a lot of people did, was I went over and looked at like a Lockheed or like a Northrop, as they would go down and think that less spending for them might be more for the AI play like Palantir. That's not how this all played out. It lost a bid. It's still trying to hold on. It managed to get an anchored VWAP up, bounce at least a little bit from its earnings. But the pullback in Palantir doesn't look like much on a daily chart. But if you're watching it in real time, that was pretty spectacular in terms of the acceleration. So we'll see about tomorrow. It's going to be SSR tomorrow. Short sell restricted. Anybody hitting the bid to go short needs an uptick. We've seen relief rallies before. The question is Palantir going to have that kind of juice? I promise you this. It is going to get traded tomorrow. What a show. Sean's coming back to this on Palantir and Brett Favre on the show tomorrow. Like, you can't even make it up. Sean, Obi doing a great job filling in for Sean, but like he's going to come right back to his favorite stock moving like wildfire and the Hall of Fame quarterback from his favorite team. And trust me, I've known Sean since high school. Believe you me, this guy's been a Packers fan. I've known him over 20 years. He's been a Packers fan that whole time. So Brett Favre is going to be being on this show. That's a big old deal. If he's not in his Packers, I'm just saying, if he's not in his Packers jersey, it's a big one. Like, it would be the equivalent of Jim Kelly showing up on the show. I'd probably lose my you-know-what and should have no part of the interview because I couldn't be. Don't let me talk to him. I'd just be like, it's Jim Kelly.
See, I'd be excited if like a Winnipeg Blue Bombers quarterback or something like you know, if Andrew
Dunnigan?
Harris came on the show, I'd be down for that. I mean, now I think he's an Argo, but I always associate him with the Bombers because I would like go and watch with
Matt Dunnigan.
grandpa. That's fair too, yeah.
Back in my day, Matt Dunnigan was the quarterback.
Yeah, or there's also Milt Siegel. Like, there's a lot of iconic Bombers that I would be. Yeah, I grew up. My family was like very Bombers. Not like obviously I didn't know Milt Siegel, but like I grew up with.
When did he play?
The Bombers because we also have Milt Siegel Boulevard in Winnipeg too, so he's like a big deal. But yeah, anyways, so I am a bit of a Bombers fan, so that would be pretty cool.
That's the CFL, everybody.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Winnipeg Blue Bombers CFL. Everyone's like, what CFL? The only CFL quarterback anyone knows around in the U.S. is probably Doug Flutie, or it should be Warren Moon too. But yeah, just to go back, it wasn't only Palantir that moved to the downside. The other thing that we should definitely consider was a pullback we saw in SMCI. So that's another name, not a report or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it's going to be very important that they do report. I think that's the story. But the bleed that happened in Palantir, look, I was short SMCI and had just covered. So like I shorted a reversion. It had just bounced off of first support. I'm like, okay, it's bouncing off support. Let's get out. And then the Palantir thing happened, and the next thing you know, SMCI was just gone, and I didn't chase it. But nasty, nasty, nasty. And celery 2, what's the C stand for in CFL? Celery, I know, come on.
He just went he, so I think he knew.
Canadian Football League, where we have 3 downs and some other rules that are very, very interesting. I'll tell you this, if you've never watched it, it's actually it's a little bit more fast-paced with some more big plays. I'll tell you this right now, if the NFL had those rules, it would actually be more exciting. But that's just neither here nor there. The better talent is over in the NFL. Pug Life 77, Johnny Manziel. Is he even on a squad? I don't even know what that guy's doing right now, but he should be in the CFL. Give the guy a chance. So a couple of things just to go over. I know it's like 425 in here.
Oh, Nerd Wallet earnings.
Oh, we just had that. I want to thank the chat for this one because I was trying to check to see when Grub might be, but I was informed they're going to report at like 7 p.m. tonight. So we'll be able to go over the numbers tomorrow morning. For Grab, sorry, not Grub. For Grab, we're not going to have them until tomorrow because it's going to be 7 p.m. Thank you guys in the chat for letting us know that is going to be the time that they report. I saw one source said the morning. I saw one source that said aftermarket. Wasn't terribly sure. I did want to go over just while we're talking about recapping the day or some moves that we should pay attention to tomorrow. There was the big move in quantum as well. Like so many things that were happening that you thought were going to be the lead to go over ended up being like back burner when we saw the move in Palantir. You just throw it out the window. One of them was you basically had the story out of Microsoft that they had a what's the word a breakthrough in their quantum.
17 years.
Yeah, big breakthrough. And you had a breakout in Rigetti and IonQ and D-Wave. All of them went up in sympathy. Rigetti actually triple topped at 1150 before pulling back. I think it makes it pretty obvious what level to look at tomorrow on Rigetti. So it triple topped today 1150. The 50 period, which it had been respecting for bounces, is 1150 or 1160. So suffice to say, over under at that level tomorrow on Rigetti. You break it out, I'm going long. You fail it, I'm going short. And when I say that, I might also short D-Wave because there's free locates on that one and we always have to pay for Rigetti, which was my mistake. And this is all on me because when everything was breaking down, I saw that trend break and went to punch short Rigetti. And if I had just prepared this morning when it was in play and paid for locates then, I could have punched short right here on Rigetti. But preparation matters so much. And if you know a stock is in play and you might want to short it and you got to pay with your broker, it would have cost me about probably 1/10 of a cent per share. So very cheap here at Real Trading. But you got to do it in order to take that trade. It was a clean reversion. We'll see if it breaks it out tomorrow for sure. And shout out to Derek Thompson. I got to give this one. While everyone's talking about CFL, Damon Allen, legit legend in the CFL. Marcus Allen's brother, and he was a Hall of Famer in the CFL. I had a chance to see Damon Allen play live. He was an incredible athlete and an incredible player. My dad growing up was a huge Warren Moon fan. He wouldn't, like, Warren Moon should have never ended up in the CFL. Anyone that doesn't know this, basically a future Hall of Famer, nobody in the NFL wanted him, so he came to the CFL, dominated for 6 years, goes to the NFL and was immediately great, but he was dominant in the CFL, probably the greatest quarterback in CFL history, but he should have never been in the CFL in the first place. That was my guy growing up because that was my dad's favorite player. But we have only a couple of minutes to go.
We do.
So just to recap for everybody. Alex Karp sells Palantir and Palantir goes nuts. Carvana reports earnings and Carvana dumps. Brett Favre is going to be on the show tomorrow, everybody, at 10:45. NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre is going to be on the show for an interview at 10:45. And my man Sean's going to be back. So suffice to say, we're a little bit excited. We had a fun one today, and we're going to have a fun one tomorrow. But you know what else we do around here at about this time? We have a little roll call action because that's also fun. And we start the roll call off by shouting out everybody on our team. Starting off with Fabian on the ones and twos, making us look and sound good. Ramin as well. And, of course, Andre on our socials. Shout out to the Bash Brothers, although Joe is away. And when Joe's away, Adara will play. Yeah. Filling in on the midday show. Still at the news desk, still doing the aftermarket show, still doing the watch list this morning. I don't even know when you ate today, Adara, or took a break. I'm assuming you absolutely didn't. You absolutely crushed it today. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. And also trading MSTR at the same time. So everyone shout out to Adara. I got to shout out Obi, of course, filling in for Sean, and Sean will be back tomorrow. Obi's talking right now to Joe, who I used to think was called Jose because of a practical joke by the trading floor manager.
Everyone thought that.
I cannot believe I fell for that.
I fully thought this for months, and then BPI, Patrick, and I found out at the exact same time because Yannick looks at us like, he's like, oh, wait, you didn't know that? We're like, no, we didn't. And then you found out like a year after that.
A year?
So, yeah, I knew for a whole year. And that was so funny. I brought it up and you were like, wait, that's not his name? And that was on poker night. But yeah, shout out to everyone there. Shout out to everybody on the floor, everyone at home, everyone watching. So happy to be here with you guys. And I was very grateful to be back on the midday today as well. So thank you all for the support.
Before you get the roll call, got to shout out Bears versus Bulls, best moderator in the business. And make sure you hit the subscribe so you can be in the chat so that you can be a part of the roll call. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, jump in, type a message, have Adara rhyme it as we speak.
I will, yeah. I've got to shout out Darwin here in the chat saying no way, Jose, which was literally the situation that we were in. So shout out to Darwin, always funny comments. Demoulin, Raul, Jimmy Joe Smith, Celery 2, The Piper, Jaso, Robert Liu, Red House Stocks, Shenanigans, Bears vs. Bulls, thank you to everything you do. We've got Celery 2, we have Bora Hout, Dawn, Marlon B, Neil Roberts in the chat, M. Kelsey, Derek Thompson, Sebastian. We have Dan Wynn, we have T-Money, got Sebastian again, Ostentation Productions, Joseph Birch, Music Steph, Freakin' Bill, Silverado Blue, Cobra, Tim Snyder, Ticker Checker, Lasmo Melendez, Scuba Scoots, Marlon B, Ronaldo, Bilbo Bagholder, a great name always, Stevenson, got Los Pollos Hermanos, Darren Michael, Seth, and Mad Wordle. Ari Page is in here too, so great day. I think tomorrow should be a pretty exciting one as well. Make sure to prepare your Carvana because that thing might take a little bit of a drive in some direction. We don't know which one yet, but it's Carvana, so be prepared for it to do Carvana things.
And I can tell you this right now. Those that have asked, Sean's been off the last couple of days sick. But I will tell you this. He would, even if he had the plague itself, there is, after what you saw in Palantir and with Brett Favre on the show tomorrow, I promise you his ass is going to be in the building tomorrow. If he has to crutch his way in, if he has to be dragged in and is like what's the name of that movie, like Weekend at Bernie's? If he has to be weekended at Bernie's into that chair with Favre and the Palantir move, He gonna be in that chair tomorrow. We'll have him back, and we're looking forward to it as well. It's gonna be a big one. I just saw Darwin's like Patient Zero Part 2. Brett Favre is gonna be on the show, bro.
I'm already feeling a little bit ill, so there might already be some. Something.
Let's not do that.
I'm gonna be honest.
Adara, Joe's, you're not allowed to get. First of all, you're not allowed to get sick.
I know.
I already do way too much around here, so you're flat out not allowed to get sick. Adara, get some rest. Adara's had an unbelievable, like I said, she filled in doing everything today. So a big shout out to Adara.
Thank you.
And you know what we got to do tomorrow, which is do it all over again. It is going to be a wild one. Check us out, 8:30, bright and early. It's going to be a wild show. The aftermath of Palantir, Brett Favre on the show. Worst Rated TV Live. See you in the AM.
Yep.
Yeah, you need some.